Welcome everybody to the NLC Full Split. My name is Scoundrel and I'm joined today on the desk by Gulborg and Jamada. Happy to have Jamada on the show. First time, so we're going to give him a big welcome. But before we do, got to say thank you to our sponsors, MasterCard, El Giganten and Corsair. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into today. I don't know if you've been seeing on Twitter. You might have been seeing some people post. I know most of the boys on the analyst desk have indeed done this. There is a fantasy league that we've got going on. You guys can go and select with a budget and buy players and teams and get involved and try to join the fantasy league around the NLC Full Split. A little insider tip for you: Prosfair is extremely cheap for his cost, and I'm sure he's going to do way better than what he's worth on the fantasy show. So if you want a cheap support, go and get Prosfair. And I think you can go to nlc.esports1.com to go and get involved in the fantasy league over there. Also, we will have a play of the day, which you can go and vote for over on our social media channels. So make sure that you get involved with the play of the day today, and that will be tweeted out later on. And you can see there are rewards for that on your screen right now. So that brings us to the NLC Full Split, and of course we have a new face joining us on the desk in the form of Jamada. Jamada came obviously from the UKLC, playing earlier this year, and has done a bit of broadcasting throughout the year as well. So this is your first NLC broadcast. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited to be here. I want to dive into things. I want to break stuff down.
That's what we've got you here for, mate.
Exactly.
That's your job, and if you don't, I'm firing you. And also we've got the return of Gulborg, who is joining again off the back of NLC and obviously European Masters. Pleasure to have you back. Gulborg, which ridiculous Danish team are you going to be supporting this time round?
There's so many. Like, honestly, I can't pick between them. When I was creating my fantasy team, I was like, wow, so many Danish players I can just pick from. It's the best ever. So I'm just excited to watch all of the teams we've got participating this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the teams, we are going to go ahead and show you the groups so far. So starting off with Group A here, which you'll see coming up on your screen. It is going to be Riddle versus XY and Ents versus Envision for Group A. Gulborg, I'm going to bring you in on this one. Any clear favorites that you think are going to be making their way through to the qualifying?
Yeah, for sure, right? Riddle, although they changed a lot of the roster is still looking really strong. XY is definitely coming into the underdog as that one, although I do feel like they have a small chance to actually pull it off. The same can be said for the Envision and Ents run. Ents obviously the clear favorite. They also have the advantages, the same roster they're coming out with, so they do have a large amount of experience compared to Envision, who's coming in with a roster to try and take down the Giants.
Yeah, let's have a look over at Group B here, and I'll bring you, Jamada, in to our Group B standings. We can see it is going to be Viking versus actually, Gulborg, can you pronounce this for me?
Playa Makela.
Okay, I have no idea what you've just said. Cova versus Unique as well. Jamada, any clear favorites you think coming from this group?
Honestly, I think Cova and Unique are the two strongest teams out of this group. So seeing them play each other in essentially the first round here, it's going to be pretty exciting. So when I'm looking at the first match, Viking versus, I'm just going to call them PK because I'm going to butcher the name if I attempt to pronounce it.
I think I might have to as well, to be honest.
You know, I think PK might end up struggling. It's kind of hard to say. I think obviously Viking sort of coming in as the first seed, initially makes you think, okay, Viking must be at least a half decent team. But I think, Cova and Unique are like objectively the strongest two teams in this group. So whoever wins out of Cova and Unique, I imagine is going to end up being the winner of Viking versus PK. And then whoever loses out of Cova and Unique, I imagine is going to end up going all the way back up through the losers bracket.
Well, there you go. Clear call from Jamada on Group B. Let's take a look at Group C very quickly as well. Gulborg, I'll bring you back in for this one, buddy. It is Barrage versus MNM and Singularity versus Absolved. And I think we've had a few predictions for MNM. I believe Jamada was one of them. But Barrage definitely looking like a very strong team, right?
I mean, they are the strongest team we're ever going to get, right? Oh, okay, let's be real, though. They're 5 Danes. That in itself, an extremely dangerous team. But they are also the second place of last split. And with Fnatic not being here, if you just look at them, they should theoretically be the strongest team we got in the entire tournament. If you go down to Singularity and Absolve, Singularity obviously a familiar team, but bringing in some new players, only keeping flashes from the last season, they are also looking extremely dangerous. But I do feel like Absolve has some good upset potential. They're coming in with new hungry players and the old Singularity bot lane, which I believe have a lot to prove as well. But I do see them have a small chance in this one as well.
All right, and to round things off, Group D, Jamada, Let's take a look at the teams over there. Unfortunately, I did Nordavind dirty and drew them into the same group. We've got Tricked versus Nordavind White and Nordavind Black versus Dusty. Any kind of particular favorites you see coming out from Group D?
I mean, I think Tricked is probably the team that most people look at as the second favorites in the entire tournament. So I feel like Tricked should end up taking down Nordavind White here. And then on the other side of the bracket, I think is a much more interesting matchup. I think Dusty and Nordavind Black on paper match up quite well against each other. So I actually expect that series to go the distance. I think it's going to end up going 2-1 either side. However, I think whichever team goes on to then face, I'm not going to write off Nordavind White now, but I feel like Tricked should realistically beat them. Nordavind Black, Dusty, I feel like they should end up dropping to Tricked.
All right, well, you see, that's the overall groups that we've got. And of course, there are plenty of streams going on for those groups, but we will be focusing on Group C specifically over the course of the next few days. And that brings us into that first match that we were bringing you, which is going to be Barrage versus MNM, a best of 3. So all of our bracket stages will be best of 3 series. And I kind of want to get into the Barrage versus MNM matchup because it will be coming to you in about 7 or 8 minutes time. And obviously, this is a sort of a matchup that's got a lot of history. These two organizations have played each other numerous times over the course of the UK tournaments previously to this, and obviously then have a bit of NLC history to go with that. I kind of want to bring you in here, Gulborg, because you obviously selected Barrage as your prediction.
I wonder why.
Yeah, he's back there with the Danish stuff. Gotta have that with Gulborg. But I'm keen to know what you think of them in terms of strengths and weaknesses. What makes Barrage strong, and where do you think that MNM may be able to exploit, if they can exploit anything at all?
I mean, Barrage is just so strong due to the pressure. They excel through their solo laners. They have a carry-oriented jungler in Maxi, and it's so easy to jungle when you have strong solo laners. You don't have to worry about saving them all the time for bad wave management or any outplay where you need to come in and push in the mid lane for them or the top lane for them. So Maxi is just being released on the map due to how far ahead their solo laner is in individual skill level. Now, if we go back to look at the last season when we had the NLC there, they had some issues with their bot lane. They were the one fumbling every now and then. They did become a bit more consistent at the ends of the split, but we did see, for example, Vendel, Bo, Pantheon just going 0 and 8, and the bot lane just doing some inconvenient deaths out of nowhere. So while the top side of the map from Barrage is definitely their strength on paper, if you're to argue a weak side on Barrage, it's definitely their bot side.
And is that something that you agree with there, Jamada? Because I know that you obviously went for MNM in this matchup. Yeah. So I'm curious on your side of the coin, like where you think MNM could shine, and if you agree with Gulborg's analysis, the bot lane will be where we see them put the pressure through.
Yeah, no, I agree with Gulborg. I think that when you're talking about Barrage, definitely the top side is the stronger side. And then you look towards MNM, and I think, it's sort of the same like Barrage with Aztec in the jungle. I think he's a very strong jungler, especially in this current meta. It's very carry orientated. So he fits right in this meta. And then, Monk's on the team. Whenever Monk is on a roster, everything sort of gravitates towards him eventually. And he definitely had some pretty standout performances, especially in the open qualifier as well. So he's kind of been on fire in recency. So I'm looking towards him and Aztec to sort of be the two big names of this MNM roster to try and carry them through. I think it's always going to be an uphill battle, though. You're talking about this MNM roster versus Barrage, the roster that went to EUM. It's tough for them.
It's definitely tough, and I honestly love that he talks about Monk always being the talking point. Last split, though, probably not the most positive talking point we had going for him. So we were talking about it as well, that this is MNM's chance to kind of rebrand themselves. This is how they wanted it to go last split. Like now, we learned that putting Monk in the mid lane was probably not the best idea ever. Now we got him in the bot lane. We have Bendix in the mid lane to actually be a mid laner, and then the rest of the map can hopefully function with a function in mid lane as well.
And I know for our viewers at home, the matchups that are going to be really key, and these guys kind of pointed it out a little bit in the discussion, that jungle matchup, going to be huge, I think, especially Aesthetic is a good jungler as well for MNM, so I'm not expecting this to be massively one-sided. And obviously, as Gulborg pointed out, that bot lane, there is potentially weakness there for Barrage. And actually, when you have Monk, and Jamada correctly pointed out some incredible performances from Monk in those qualifiers, we are looking for strength from the MNM bot lane to shine through here if they want to have a good shot in this matchup. Now, before we head to break, we did make some predictions for our matches today, and so I'm going to show them up on screen right now. A few differences between some of the predictions, mostly coming from our boy Gulborg over here, going for PK over Viking and also predicting Unique over Cova 2. I will dive into those a little bit later, Gulborg, especially as we come towards the end of some of those series and we get some updates on those scores. But if you're interested in those predictions, this is where we're going. But everybody across the board, mostly going for Barrage, apart from Jamada and also Hitbrain, who chose MNM in this series. So I'm going to be keeping tabs on Jamada over the course of this series. And he may be laughing on the analyst desk if they do manage to come out with the win. But for the time being, we are going to go to a short break. When we're back, we'll have champions select for our first series of the NLC Full Open.
Watching the world go by under the moonlit sky.
We are about to jump into Champion Select for our first series of today that we'll be covering here from Group C. It will be Barrage versus MNM. And as the guys on the desk were saying, Barrage kind of coming in as tournament favorites, mainly because it is just that very strong Riddle roster that did indeed make the European Masters from the NLC. But Jamada, you were kind of touching on MNM. You were kind of saying, well, I think there's a shot here. Is this like a meta that you think favors Monk? Do you think that his level up in performance has been because of meta, or do you think it's primarily just been through just being back in the bot lane and getting back into his groove?
I mean, as far as Monk's concerned, I think he's just getting more comfortable, like you say. He's getting back into the groove of things in the AD carry role again. And just in general, MNM, when they looked good during the open qualifiers, it was because they were drafting around Monk. And then also handing aesthetic things like the Lilia, the Hecarim, seeing the Lilia banned away by Barrage. I think that makes a whole bunch of sense. It's a very powerful champion. And yeah, I really think that Monk has to carry this one if MNM are to stand a chance.
I love the bans that's already coming out for MNM and Barrage for that matter of say, because it's really telling what they're prioritizing here. We're talking aesthetic up. He's a really dangerous jungler, already pinning his pull out. At the same time, last split on Riddle, it was Sencux and Twisted Fate. It was the global way that they were playing the map that made them so hard to play against, specifically with the Sencux and Maxi duo. So they're already trying to shut that down.
I love the fact that Kindred comes out as well, because the one memory that I have of aesthetic was, I think, during the Nordic Championship earlier this year, and he went like 14-0 on the Kindred. He absolutely stomped the game. So he's kind of known for Kindred, especially with Kindred being so popular on this patch. You saw Kindred a lot at Worlds. Makes sense that you're going to limit one of aesthetic's best champions. Nidalee ban comes through. Maxi, obviously a very well-known Nidalee player, so they're going to get rid of that champion. And if Worlds are anything to go by, and maybe if junglers are anything to go by, I was about to say it, the Graves first pick, very likely coming out for Maxi on Barrage.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, with the Nidalee ban going through as well, with the Lilia gone, it kind of just makes the most sense in my head that Maxi is going to be picking up the Graves here. And now in response, MNM, they've got a couple of options. They could either end up taking their AD carry with like maybe a safe mid laner. The Ornn as well is something that is really blindable in this meta. So I'm happy to see Kakan on that one. Like we said, Kakan, he can be sort of considered the weaker link in this MNM roster. So taking something safe for himself there, I really like to see. And then Monk getting his hands on Dash as well.
Yeah, if we didn't mention this, we are playing on the Worlds patch, so obviously, as you mentioned, Jamada, on really blind pickable, but I'm still a bit worried because you're blind picking on into Doxy, who is pretty much known as the best pressuring top laner we had in the league last split as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Kakan is actually going to fare, because under champions like Poppy, under champions like Ornn, in the last split on MNM, we did see some glimmer of hope for them. Now, Barrage, they're targeting the lockdown, they're targeting this Ashe with Leona and the Syndra coming in.
Yeah, I was just about to mention it as well. Leona being one of the best performing supports at the World Championship, something that really just popped out in that particular patch. And then Sencux, super happy to blind Syndra. One of the more blindable mids, I would say, just in case her matchups aren't the worst. And now it's up to MNM to respond. Do you think they secure bot lane here, or do they go for a mid that they feel comfortable into Syndra with?
Yeah, wow. I mean, they've decided to go for... I'm not sure I'm a fan. I feel like you can... obviously contest the Graves with the Lee Sin early on, right? That's probably the point of the pick. But it just doesn't strike me as something that Aesthetic is going to play and be really successful on into a team like Barrage. I feel like you probably want the Hecarim and you just layer on the engage and you have all of that go, all of the go buttons, so you can just make plays happen when you want. That being said now, I would imagine for MNM, their mid laner, they're going to look for something a little more skirmish heavy to try and contest the Syndra and the Graves if they've gone down this Lee Sin route.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they also target banning from Barrage. Is it going to be more of the supports that they haven't picked, or is it the champions into the Syndra here? Sencux, if you don't know, has been known for playing the control mages. He's pretty much never a guy that falls behind. We were talking about this beforehand, Jamada, as well, that how Bendix may be a bit unknown to the people here, but when he comes into smaller leagues, he's just holding really nicely up against his opposition's mid laner.
Yeah, I actually think even to quote Gulborg verbatim, he said that he basically 1v9s in some of the smaller leagues that you see Bendix play in. So I think, I'm expecting him to at least hold his own versus Sencux here, which I think is going to be an important thing, given that we've talked about the strength of the top side, and specifically the strength of the solo laners from Barrage. That they are the real driving force for success from this team.
Yeah, they are. And I think here Dox is going to have a really good opportunity to pick something that he's going to feel really comfortable on and take over the top side of the map with, because I mean, he knows he's playing into the Ornn. The Azir's been locked in for Bendix, and Reyhe's going to get his hands on the Ezreal, and now it's all on Doxy. He's got so many options. The Gnar is still there if he really wants to fall back onto it, of course, known for that champion. And I mean, the ball's really in his court, and I'm kind of, I don't want to say concerned for MNM's draft. They scale quite well. They have decent early pressure. The Sion lock-in would be kind of surprising, but at the same time, okay, there you go. Something more carry-orientated for Doxy. That's what
I was going to say, I would love for him to challenge that pick. I'd be really surprised if we saw him handshake the tank meta matchup there, because there's still the likes of, as you said yourself, Fiora, now coming in with the Mordekaiser here himself, so he can still be a menace in the team fight as well, especially if he can get ahead. Now, Braum pick coming in here against the Ezreal Leona. Also, just the Ezreal in general for Ray, the fact that that's not what spanned out when he was such a menace on it, and like pretty much the pick you think of when thinking of Ray as well.
Yeah, and I think actually that's been this entire year. Whenever I've thought of Ray, I've always thought, okay, Ezreal is like his pick, right? This is like his best performing champion. Guys, these are our first competitions locked in for this best of 3. Jamada, I'm going to very quickly ask you, MNM, win conditions, how do they win the game with this comp?
I mean, I think they've got really decent scaling and wave clear through the Azir. And then on the bottom side, because of the Ashe and the Braum, they've drafted themselves a really, really strong 2v2 in the bottom side. Ezreal and Leona shouldn't really be able to keep up with that pressure early, and they've got the Lee Sin down there as well. So I feel like early win conditions probably going to be bottom lane pressure, and they should try and get some early dragons stacked up too.
Yeah, okay, so basically generate priority bot lane, play through Monk and through Braum, utilizing the Lee Sin. Sounds good. Gulbog, very quickly before we go to casters, on the other side of the coin, how do Barrage win?
Okay, weak side bot lane, you got the Ezreal Leona, you can always play for it in the team fight. You got good damage profiles with a Mordekaiser and a Syndra who's AP, and then you got the Graves who's 80, so it's easy to play for maxing this one if you get pressure with it. So you're looking to get a lead through maxing in the early game and then team fight when you got a lead.
Yeah, okay, so you're looking for solo lane priority, give Maxi the space to do what he can do best. Nice, I love it. Easy and succinct. Do you know what, guys? Let's bring our casters in. It is going to be the tried and tested duo, the absolute OGs of the UK scene here. It is Hiprain and Orcs. Sending it over to them.
I'm fairly certain the OGs of the UK scene are Scoundrel and Medic, but I'll take that. I'll take that. Yeah. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the NLC Full Open. My name is obviously Hiprain, and I am joined by Orcs as we're getting ready to go into our first best of 3 of the tournament. Orcs, how you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm good. I am hyped. Best of 3s, love it. Cup coming in, obviously playing in the fall, which we don't typically do in the UK, so it's just exciting stuff. And I've missed it. I've missed you, Jake. In all honesty,
too. You know, it's not very often me and you get a wholesome moment together, but I have missed you. It's been a weird, long couple of months where we haven't really been able to speak to each other too much. And just as the world goes into lockdown, we do get 4 days a week of League of Legends here at the NLC. So something to keep us busy. For you guys at home as well, something to watch. As we starting up with Group C, MNM versus Barrage, and looks like MNM are actually setting up a bit of a free man in this tri-brush. We'll see if they decide to maybe move downwards and spot out Maxi.
Yeah, it's actually quite common if you're playing Mordekaiser to try and look for a heavy trade level 1. So I feel like MNM is specifically looking to punish this, because if Mordekaiser does find the Ornn, you can yank them in and then just stack your passive and really bully him. So doing a little bit of an invade move to try and punish that. On top of that, having the Braum is a really strong pick for these level 1 invades. You have that passive, but nothing really going to come from that.
Yeah, it was a nice little swap there. Nice little kind of read from MNM, but it looks like Barrage weren't feeling it. Ryan Mudblowdown now are going to move up and maybe look just to try and spot out some of this jungle pathing from Aesthetic. As Monkey is waiting around in the area. Has been spotted out, I believe, there. Yeah, he was spotted out.
It's really great. Just throw the ward down. I mean, or not.
He didn't have a ward. He used it already. And
true. That is a fair one.
There you go.
No wards available. So a little bit unfortunate they're not able to get the vision down. I guess you can make the premonition that Lee isn't starting bot side unless he's still in the camp, but it seems unlikely. You're kind of going to guess he's on top side at this point.
This is what Jamada was talking about on the desk. We do want to see MNM's bot lane be the one to pick up the pace in this game. That's where they're looking to play through and then translate that into Bendix on the Azir, kind of moving into the late game wave clear and damage output he'll be able to put down. But for the side of Barrage, it's all about playing through these solo laners, playing through Senkux and Doxy, and just giving space to Maxi, letting him power farm up over Aesthetic, letting him outscale Aesthetic, and contesting them there.
And that's going to be the critical thing, because if you get the Graves snowball in, it can put you into a really good spot to lean into the mid game. Having the Syndra as well, obviously, huge to be able to contest that priority early. But Bendix, he's found some space in the lane, and he's looking just to be a little bit annoying towards Maxi.
All right, that's a good chunk. Gets the Meteor proc onto Maxi as well. The Q is going to get Scatter the Weak back, but doesn't actually get stunned by that. And now Aesthetic's actually moving into Maxi's jungle. Maxi half HP. Aesthetic got a lot more and got his double buffs available in the bush, waiting for him. Lands the Sonic Strike, follows it up as Maxi tries to dash away, stacking the Grit up. The double smites go down for a bit of health, and Maxi will be able to secure this as Aesthetic unable to find the kill. But MNM closing in on a pincer here, as now it's Monk and Tasteless having to run away.
Yeah, not quite enough priority there for the bot lane to be there sooner. And ultimately, Monk and Tasteless do move over to try and assist. Aesthetic is able to get out. Actually, might be looking for something here. Maxi and Wendelbo going for the scuttle, but Senkux now has priority, and Aesthetic just has to back away. He is actually going for the Krugs here, so a little bit risky.
Cheeky jungle still there. Is going to be able to pick up the big one, but is moving away quickly as Monk and Tasteless closing in. Right? Doesn't realize actually he's the one in a little bit of danger here. Has got the E. Aesthetic a little bit too quick on the trigger. And Rai's going to be able to get out to safety. This is going to be a double crab start for Maxi, though.
Yeah, just Ezreal things, not really much you could do to pressure, but if you look at the jungle CS difference already, this is massive. We said Barrage need to facilitate Maxi. They have done so. In Aesthetic, he goes for these aggressive plays, and they haven't paid off yet.
Looking for the plays, unable to cash in on them, and now it's Maxi who's turning the tempo up. He's the one looking to push into Aesthetic. Bendix has been shoved in hard underneath his tower and chunked out by Senkux. And this just means there's no mid lane prio. Kakan's got the top lane shoved into him by Doxy as well. And Aesthetic may just have to sacrifice his red side jungle.
Yeah, Maxi not going to over... Oh, is he?
Nope.
Good luck for this, as I'm saying it.
He's got the wards. They've got the teleport. They're bringing people up now. Maxi maybe getting a little bit too greedy, but once again, Aesthetic pulls the Q very quickly. They do find the knockup, and everybody is jumping onto the Graves as the minions go over, and first blood to the mid lane.
Yeah, well, he went for the play. He definitely should not have. Just a bit over-aggressive in that situation. You challenged Aesthetic. You played aggro in his jungle. Just back away, because right now you're kind of just throwing away that big lead you built up for yourself.
Good teleport use there from Bendix to be able to pick up that kill. And like we're saying, he is the scaling option for MNM. He is that kind of late game wave clear and damage. So getting that first blood's going to be a really, really nice boost in power here. Right? Gonna have to play a little safe here. The only one in this lane versus Monk and Tasteless, but Wave's going to slow push into him, and he's going to be okay to catch this. Actually, maybe look to slow the wave down a little bit. Actually, Wendelbo is going to jump in. Great block there by Tasteless, and now Wendelbo stunned up by the concussive strike. Concussive blows more. It's just going to get a light trade off here in the bot lane for now.
Yeah, it's a tricky lane to really do much in as a Leona, simply because of the Braum shield. You go in and they can just keep block that off. But
oh, they're bringing the teleport, the flash, the ignite. Monk's just down here. And Rai's going to find the killer. Senkux unleashes power. Has got that Scatter of the Weak to work with as they do catch him underneath the tower. Now Senkux taking tower shot after tower shot. He's half health, and he's going to have to back away. Tasteless survives, but the dragon will get picked up by Barrage.
Nice TP play. Obviously, we saw Bendix go for one on the top side. This is the answer from Barrage in this situation. And ultimately, the engage from Wendelbo was almost enough just to take Monk down almost instantly. Tasteless not working with much mana there. Unable to really do anything for his AD carry. And it's a nice move from Barrage. We said the bot lane of MNM is hugely important. They heavily lean on Monk. Him already going down is a good omen.
Aesthetic, he's pretty far behind. He needs to make this gank work, and everything goes wide. Doxy just flashes away to safety, and Aesthetic, look at the CS deficit between him and Maxi right now. He is bleeding out.
I mean, I feel like this is kind of the whole ganking versus farming jungler scenario, where if your ganks go wrong, if your invades go wrong on this Lee Sin, you fall so far behind, whereas all Maxi has to do is clear his camps and he's fine.
And
And
remember, Maxi's been killed while farming as well, and he's still ahead.
it was just a faster base. He got the camp, got back to base.
Time-efficient basing.
Exactly. And I mean, it's a scenario where you look right now, Aesthetic goes for that gank. He's got jungle camps across the board up and available. And his clearing just hasn't been super efficient. It's generally, he's been more focused on trying to put Maxi behind, more focused on trying to provide space for his laners. And as a result, he just hasn't spent enough time farming. And we're going to start to feel that once Maxi picks up the warriors, once he gets an item lead over Aesthetic, it's really going to be difficult for this Lee Sin to do anything. He's still level 5 at this point. Rai has his ultimate before the Lee Sin does.
That is worrying. I was about to talk about this bot lane as well. So how are we feeling about this bot lane? Because one of the things that was hit on the desk is Barrage, well, MNM, they want to win through bot lane early. And feels like they're not ahead. They're actually struggling a little bit here as Maxi's getting jumped onto. Aesthetic will get completely chunked out. And Maxi with the R. Aesthetic's already flashes the true shot. Barrage goes a little bit wide. Level up comes in for Aesthetic. And he's going to be able to get out of that one nice and safe as Kakan is going to have to deal with this wave as Doxy just looks to poke a little bit more damage into him. And now Kakan charging forward in a pretty dangerous position as the Rift Herald will get started up just off camera. Aesthetic waiting about, has got Bendix with him, looking for the kick, looking for the opening. Tasteless has made his way up as well, and Bendix stunned up by the Scat of the Week. The teleports are coming in, and MNM, they are looking for blood. They want to fight this. They're going to be able to zone Barrage off and pick up the Rift Herald.
Yeah, it was just a bit overzealous there. They didn't have the vision control around the Herald. The scuttle was down in favor of MNM. You knew MNM were aware you were there, and a really nice move up from Tasteless. He reached the top side of the map first, ahead of Wendelbow, and that was the critical thing. Him being there first meant that MNM had control. And that's what I actually want to hone in on, because this isn't the same MNM roster we saw in the qualifiers. They did switch their support. Formerly they had Li Wood, and now they're running with Tasteless. And Tasteless is a player with a ton of experience, having played in EU Masters multiple times. So you can see a bit of that veterancy showing up there in that top side in Rome.
And speaking about changes for MNM, this feels like a small kind of tournament, a small open that Monk really wants to prove himself on. He was playing mid for the majority of the summer split, and it was rough. It was pretty rough, to put that lightly. He wants to prove himself. He's regarded as a very good bot laner. And now he's actually playing his main role. Can he show up? Can he prove his worth after a very disappointing summer?
That's the question. And I think MNM's composition really allows him to do so. They have a lot of peel, a lot of protection for this backline. And it's ideal when you have two consistent DPS carries like the Azir and the Ashe. They should just be able to output a ton of damage if they're kept safe. But the critical thing is ensuring that you're still in contention, that you're not super far behind in gold, because Barrage's mid-game is going to be pretty devastating. That's a big spike for them. They've already got that first dragon, a minute till that second. If they can start stacking those up, that's where it becomes a problem for MNM.
Yeah, that Mana Mune probably not too far off here for Rai as well. On the Ezreal, start getting that ready to go. Well, Monk sitting on a BS sword and a long sword. Has got the attack speed boots as well, so got a little bit to work with, but the Essence Reaver feels a bit of a way away. They were looking for a gank mid onto Bendix, but unable to find it. Looks like everyone's just going to make their way back towards that bot lane.
A lot of attention being put towards the top side right now with 30 seconds on this dragon. And I really feel like this should be a priority. If MNM get this one, it buys them more time to lean into the scaling carries, lean towards those ornaments they'll get later. If Barrage get it, it really sets the pace of the game. It says that MNM, you have to fight this third dragon. It's going to be a problem for you. So I'm a little bit surprised there isn't as much control being put down towards the bot side. You can see Aesthetic trying to catch up in the jungle, clearing his camps up through top side. But this is giving a bit of space for Barrage to get some vision control.
MNM do have that Rift Herald they can put down in mid if they need to. Try and brute force themselves an opening there. At the moment, Senkux has got the shove. And if we do talk about the summoner spells available for this dragon, neither top laner has their teleport now. Maxi will be spotted out by the Hawk shot. And it looks like MNM just not in position to contest this. They may just give it up. They may just try and force with the Rift Herald in the mid lane. But Svedek, he's just going to bolt towards the top lane, see if he can make a play.
Guess not. I feel like neither team heavily committed towards this dragon. Like, Barrage did move in towards it at the end and pick it up quite easily, but the setup wasn't massively there. And I feel like MNM, I can understand the thought process. You have these scaling carries. You want to lean into those. It was a warrior for Maxi versus no full completed warrior for Aesthetic. Engage coming in.
Right, going very, very low. They actually try to catch him out for the moment. Monk's able to get the kill. He flashes away, throws out the slow with the volley. The teleports are coming in to back them up, and Tasteless, only one standing right now as he is running back towards the rest of his team. Aesthetic and Bendix making their way forward. Wendelboe, concussive blows are stacking up onto him. One more, and he is stunned. There's the kick, there's the follow-up, and there's the finish. Bendix finds the kill.
Really nice play come there from Monk and just putting some pressure down the 2v2. They're going to be able to translate this into some plates on the bot side.
Oh, Aesthetic goes in, gets the kick. Actually holds it for the moment, but he's just going to flash onto Maxi.
Oh, no.
And Rai just finds the kill. The kick hits the minion, and Maxi is out of there.
Yeah, I think he was low on energy when he went for that ward hop, so wasn't able to close the gap. Just a bit over aggressive from Aesthetic, but it was a good play overall for MNM. Bendix now on 3 kills and some plates in his pocket. This Azir is going to be massive.
Yeah, it's going to be one very, very scary Azir. Monk was able to find a pretty stylish fadeaway kill while everybody was jumping onto him as well.
Yeah,
so a bit more gold in his pocket.
I'm not sure what happened to Stencox, in all honesty, because he died in that play.
Yeah, I'd like to see that again if we have a replay.
Yeah, he was channeling the TP and got killed during it, but I'm not quite sure where he was when he went for that T, but ultimately a really good punish from MNM. And I think the critical thing was Monk and Tasteless finding the 2v2 turnaround on a Rai in that initial trade. And that initial engage, they managed to take out the animated carry. As a result, Monk survives for a much longer time. It's really well played. It's shown the strength of this Ashe Braum in the skirmishes.
Let's put the Ashe Arrow out onto Wendelboe. They've slowed him down. They flashed forward. They're going to stack these up. Solar Flare's not going to hit its mark as the true shot. Barrage comes down onto Tasteless. Wendelboe chunked out. Tasteless chunked out. The AD carry is going to step away as Rai's got him forward. He has no E. He has nowhere to go. And Monk finds the kill. He's going to look for another. Stencox comes in and mops up a double kill. Barrage, turn it around.
I mean, it's a good roam coming down from Stencox to deliver on that, but maybe a bit over-aggressive from Rai. Either way, they get the 2 kills, they get the punish. And MNM, it feels like the bot lane is fighting against the will at this point to make things happen, but Barrage just keep bringing more numbers.
Does give a bit of free time onto this mid lane turret. Loses most of its health. Let's have a little look at that play once again, though. Just really solid stuff there from the Syndra, but what was Rai doing?
Yeah, I mean, I understand he wanted to arcane shift over to try and sort of cut them off so Stencox can walk in. But realistically, there's a position you could arcane shift to that would be able to corral them back into the river that wouldn't be so aggressive. I think the thing is he went in a bit too early, a bit too far, and as a result went down. But either way, you still get those 2 kills for your Syndra. You can't complain too much about the outcome of that play. And ultimately, I'm looking at Barrage's win condition. They still have 2 dragons in the pocket. It's going to be an Infernal Soul, a minute 30, and you can see both teams now heavily looking to contest this one.
It's important for MNM to pick this one up. They do not want to be looking at a very early Infernal Soul if they can't start to stack some dragons. Start to slow Barrage down somewhat. But like I said, Barrage are the ones now moving into this river. They're getting control of the area. It's completely lit up in their favor, bar that 1 pink ward. Which isn't really doing too much for MNM right now. Monk's just going to have to be forced away from this tower. So he doesn't have the support of the rest of his team. They are actually going for the Rift Herald on the other side of the map for the moment.
They're going for the cross-map objective. I'm guessing the plan here is to get the Herald, throw it down, and force Barrage to move to it. Ooh. No, not quite. But ultimately, this does mean they're leaning heavily away from bot lane. And Wendelboe, Maxi, and Stencox, you can see they're just completely controlling the vision. I think it's going to become very hard to contest this dragon with no vision in that area. This might just be 3 dragons to 0 for Barrage.
Now, difference is top laners do both have their teleports, so we could be looking at our first full-on 5v5 at this dragon. Waves are going to get sorted out by Barrage in the mid lane, shoved in. And Aesthetic's bolting his way down. 17 seconds until that Infernal Drake comes up, and MNM trying to bully their way into this river area, but at the moment, they're struggling a little bit here. They've brought down Kakan, who actually did swap out into having a barrier. Rift Herald up for Aesthetic. He can summon that down, but here comes Stencox. Going to look to lock down Doxy already. He's just going to get chunked out. Sorry, Kakan is going to lose his life. As Maxi finds the kill, the Rift Herald gets summoned, and now MNM looking to try and collapse here on the mid lane. They do find a good Zenith Blade off onto Aesthetic. Dodges out on the end of the line as Tasteless jumps in forward, misses the Winter's Bite. No top laner available for MNM, no front line available, but they're still going to go for it. They're going to throw the arrow. They're going to throw everything at Wendelboe, who does take a kick as the True Shot Barrage cuts through everyone. Aesthetic slides his way in. Bendix, unable to find himself the ultimate. Tasteless jumps in forward, and here comes Doxy on that flank. MNM, they're in for a whole world of hurt here as Bendix is being chunked out. Monk has been pulled into the Shadow Realm, and Doxy is looking to take him down. Should be able to do so, but here comes Kakan, looking to save the day. Finds himself the knock-up. Monk finally goes down as he lives forever, but Kakan slides in and finds himself a shutdown of the Senkuks. Here's Raido looking to mop the fight up as Barrage will just run away with it. It is a beautiful play by Doxy and Rai.
MNM overcommitting way too hard there. You knew Doxy was going to TP in behind you, and he solo kills Monk essentially and is able to decimate the rest of the team. I could see the thought process from MNM, but Barrage, they'd already got that pick, they'd already gotten the vision control, and they had Doxy to come in to clean up the fight. They're gonna get that third dragon, and things are starting to look rough for the Marshmallows.
It really is. Let's have a little look at that fight once again. Starts with a very optimistic arrow.
So, like, they burn a lot to try and get Wendelboe, whose flash isn't quite up and available. And yes, they take him down, but you ultimately only got the support. Bendix goes a bit too aggressive on that Streamer Shuffle, and now MNM have no cooldowns left for Doxy. He walks in, kick comes out exhaust, he doesn't even care. He presses R on Monk as Bendix gets bursted. And these carries that we talked about MNM having the protection for, they just get decimated. Bendix gets bursted by the Syndra, Monks gets soloed by Doxy, and now without this sustained DPS, there's no way you're going to be able to burn through Doxy's health bar, and he's just able to shred the rest of the fight.
There was a response though during that replay. Bendix was able to find himself in mid lane tier 1, so both the mid lane turrets are down. That opens up the map somewhat, but now we are looking at 4 minutes until a very, very early Infernal Soul for Barrage if they're able to find that. And it does feel a little bit like that dragon kind of went over because Kakan got caught out early on before the dragon spawned, and that really, really bit MNM in the bum.
Yep, and I think fourth dragon is going to be a big one that MNM have to contest. They have to fight. They're going to be down in gold. And if we look at the items, we have Triforce, Mirror Mana fully completed for Rai. This is a huge spike. I think you need to play this fight almost perfectly if you're going to come out ahead, because you need to win the fight and get the dragon.
Khan's trying to clear the wave and unable to do so. Blinded, gets the headbutt off, but he goes down. Turret falls as well. And MNM look to see if they can force something. Doxy will get spotted out here by Tasteless as True Shot Barrage comes down, and Tasteless is just getting chunked. He's been pulled into the Shadow Realm. Tasteless should just lose his life here. Doxy able to find the kill, and Aesthetic now on that flank. Concussive blows wear off, and Aesthetic, he is just going to get caught out. Solar Flare goes a little bit wide. Does get himself a kickoff to get his way out of there.
I mean, things are just starting to fall apart a bit. Oh, Maxi.
Oh, actually, takes on the blue buff and just instantly gives it back to Bendix. A shutdown for him as well.
Yeah, Bendix will take that leash. I mean, I was just saying, things starting to look like they're falling apart for MNM, and Maxi decides to hand over a freebie there. Greeding a little bit too hard for that blue buff.
Wave's going to get pushed in here, but Monk and Aesthetic are about as... You got a 4-1 Azir, 202 CS as well, 20 minutes. He's really, really strong right now. That's the one thing that Barrage do need to respect at the moment is Bendix.
Yeah, the critical thing, though, I'm looking for is how the team fights pan out, because we need Bendix and Monks to be able to DPS from the backline. And ideally for Kakan, he can hit that level 13 before that dragon comes up, because it's a massive spike. Oh, he has just hit it now. So he's going to be a lot tankier. The backline is putting out good DPS. Bendix completed that Leandries. He's got a large rod as well. You have to win this next fight. And ultimately, don't go over aggressive like you did last time. Bendix going for a Streamer Shuffle is likely going to just lose them the fight. I want to see the consistent DPS coming out from these carries and the rest of the team playing to protect them. And a big part of that is establishing vision control early. You can see they are moving in now to try and achieve that.
Yeah, MNM this time they're the ones being proactive. The Scuttle Crab spawns up as well, so they'll have some permanent vision in the area to work with. As Monk actually finished up his Hurricane on this base as well, so he has his second item, and now they caught Stenkuts out. They're throwing everything at him, and down goes the Syndra. will be alive in time for the Dragon, but that's a great pickup for MNM.
Yeah, beautiful play there just to secure that one. Execution, maybe a little whiff with Aesthetics Q not landing, but ultimately they got the pick. It buys them some time, and Kakan can move up top side to clear up this wave, but ultimately Doxy does pick up the tower, and he is incredibly strong right now. It's concerning. It's concerning that he's just going to be able to ult one of these carries if he gets backline access, and neither Monk is definitely not going to be able to deal with Mordekaiser. Azir has a little bit more of a chance if he has his ult available.
Monk's able to take a turret in the bottom lane for himself. So at the moment, it's 3-2 in favor of Barrage turrets. The gold lead in Barrage's favor as well. Senkuk's got a Medjay's, but with no pages. Completely empty on that one after that shutdown. Question is, are MNM going to be able to contest this?
They have to. It doesn't matter whether they're able or not, they have to. Kakan's going to clear that top wave out, and then he's going to walk straight down towards bot, and they're just going to try and force in here, get some vision, and start a fight. Ult is available again for Monk to try and go for a pick, but...
Oh, Doxy reveals himself a little bit there as Monk actually overextending, throws the arrow down, flashes away, gets jumped back onto. Everybody's layering everything onto Monk, and Monk loses his life just as Dragon spawns. Now it's a 4 versus 5, and a tough situation just got a whole lot tougher as Doxy pulls another carry into the shallow run, but he is actually getting chunked out in there and going so low. Bendix jumps out in front of everyone else, and Senkuk, he's all alone, but the Unleashed Power will secure him that kill, and MNM are just falling member by member as Kakan is the only one left standing, and Barrage will just brute force their way through the mid lane, get this Infernal Soul, and get Baron.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the nail in the coffin for MNM. Barrage, perfect execution. As soon as they see Monk out of position, they all dive onto him. And Wendelbow, great CC layering, saves the ultimate for after the flash. And as soon as they get this pick, it just translates into so much for them. Kakan doesn't have a smite, so not really much you can do here. And I actually think he may just go down as well.
Yeah,
oh, he did have a smite, actually.
He's going down. Maxi's going to be able to fight this one. Kakan smite there. Scuttle crap for a little bit of life, and actually Maxi will be able to find the kill as now Monk looking to chase him down, got the slows. Bendix is coming in, flashes out from that Ash arrow, but here comes the Azir. Maxi will lose his life, but a pick up of the Dragon, picking the soul for his team is going to be worth it. The shutdown, once again, given over to Bendix.
Yeah, it was actually summoner spellbook from Kakan. He did actually have a smite available. Oh, that's a lot of damage.
Right, does so much damage! And that's just 2 kills for Barrage. Tasteless has to flash the wall, but Doxy follows him over, and a double kill for Rai.
Yeah, I mean, you take a swing at Maxi, and the rest of Barrage is there to answer. Infernal Soul in the pocket, Baron in the pocket, looking great with an 8,000 gold lead. And actually, I was wrong there. Kakan had the smite available from the Summoner Spellbook, so was actually able to potentially steal there, but ultimately Maxi secures it. And everything's still looking solid for Barrage. Start to take some structures here. And with Bendix and Monk dead again, there's not really much MNM can do to contest this.
There's a reason everyone was saying this Barrage team looked like the strongest here in the NLC Full Open. Putting on a clinic in game 1 of this best of 3 versus MNM. 21-10, an 11 kill lead, plus a 10,000 gold lead to boot. 3 turrets up, they got Baron, they've got Soul. It's 25 minutes on the clock, and Barrage are looking to crack open some base structures.
There's a lot of question marks in this game for me for MNM. Right now, they need a miracle if they're going to be able to try and find their way back in.
Well, Monk, he is just going to get absolutely minced. There's an easy pick up there for Senkuk. Finds himself the double kill. The True Shot Barrage chunks out Aesthetic, as the inhibitor turret in the bot lane will crumble, shortly followed by its inhibitor. They've still got a minion wave to work with, and Barrage are just going to 5-man into the Nexus in game 1. Turret number 1's down, turret number 2's down. Bendix and the rest of the team who are alive are going to have to pull out a miracle to close this one. That's going to be Aesthetic sliding in, instantly caught out by the CC, jumping in, gets the shuffle back, but the Nexus has been left exposed, and here come the shutdowns, here come the kills. The Nexus goes down, 26 minutes on the clock, 26 kills on the board. Barrage take game number 1.
Clean sailing for Barrage, honestly, and I think this is what we expected from them. I don't think anyone doubts that. I think for the side of MNM, I was hoping for a bit more. I think there were definitely some clear mistakes that you could point at, and it doesn't really take too much analysis to work out that was completely wrong. Like Monk being split off for the team on that 4th dragon, the lack of setup and priority for the earlier dragons, and it kind of just put the game on a timer for Barrage. But bear in mind, this is Barrage, who formerly with the Riddle roster came second, only lost to Fnatic Rising. We expected them to come in strong. So I do think MNM has a chance to come back in this next game, but they definitely need to be playing on the right game.
Clean up your dragons, MNM, and then maybe you'll be able to take yourself a game. But Barrage, they are looking terrifying in this first game. Now, guys, we're going to cut to a quick break, and when we're back, we'll have our analyst desk to break that down a little bit more. See you in a second.
Watching the world go by under the moonlit sky. It's the feeling, yeah, it's the feeling. Sun-kissed and having fun, ocean to summer sun. It's the feeling, yeah, it's the feeling. We know, oh, ain't gonna change, yeah, we know. The stars will never fade, we'll never walk away. Make this our real life, just you and me. Right where I want to be. Right where I want to be. Never letting go, never letting go. 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 Oh, watching the world go by under the moonlit sky. It's the feeling, yeah, it's the feeling. Sun-kissed and having fun, ocean to summer sun. It's the feeling, yeah, it's the feeling. We know. Just you and me, right where I want to be. Right where I want to be. Never letting go, never letting go. 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 Where I want to be.
I know that it's time to make a start. We can't stay where we are, my love. This is our one chance to chase the sun. We've got to cut and run, my love. For all the reasons we work so hard, for the life that we deserve. I know that we'll be on golden sands, seeing far across the world. I know that it's time to make a start. We can't stay where we are, my love. This is our one chance to chase the sun. We've got to cut and run, my love. For all the reasons we work so hard, for the life that we deserve. I know that we'll be on golden sands, seeing far across the world.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the NLC Full Open. We just saw Barrage absolutely dismantle MNM in that game. Honestly, for maybe the first 5-10 minutes, a lot of us, we were discussing off air, we were saying, oh, actually, not looking bad for MNM, like that we can see some signs of life. And then suddenly it just went wrong. Where did it go wrong, Gulborg? Where was that point where we were just like, okay.
Well, let's talk about some of the positive first for MNM, right?
Okay, sure.
Where did they come in as the surprising factor? I think that we were all a bit surprised of the Lee Sin pick in general as a response to Maxi's Graves in the beginning. But the way Aesthetic actually piloted in the beginning, where they came in with missed pressure, they got vision of Maxi, and you could clearly see they had a game plan to shut down Maxi. But Maxi was just a better mechanically player there, actually turning that situation around. So Aesthetic had to dip out of his jungle in a situation where he initially had the upper hand. And from that point on, it was really easy for Maxi to play around the map, get the XP leads. And MNM was actually good at shutting down the invades, but when it came to fights, when it came to some of the points where the individual skill mattered and some of the macro, it faltered a bit for MNM.
Yeah, and obviously you were talking a little bit about this, Jamada. You wanted to see Aesthetic on something a bit more carry-orientated, right?
Yeah, and Lee Sin is like a carry champion, but I was thinking more along the lines of something like the Hecarim I think I highlighted during the draft. And especially it would have went pretty well with what they were running. The Ornn and Ashe, I think, were the first two lock-ins, so running Hecarim on top of that for sort of more engage, I think it would have went well. The Graves can't necessarily always interrupt the farming pattern of a Hecarim in the early stages unless he's got like loads of prio, or he can just cheat the prio, get in, sort of interrupt Hecarim on a camp and then just leave. But he did pilot the Lee Sin well, like Goldberg said. He did get into Maxi's face, but he wasn't really able to ever stop him from farming, and then it eventually flipped on its head. Maxi was able to invade him later on in the early game on his Krugs and also his Raptors, so he ended up losing a lot.
And to me, it really felt like it was like, oh, sorry, Goldberg, I've just...
No, you go ahead.
I was about to say, to me, it really felt like we talked about solo lane dominance, and whilst I think Senkux didn't quite have that dominant performance we expected, Doxy really did. Like, Doxy absolutely crushed this game on the Mordekaiser, and I definitely felt like he was one of the tipping factors for Barrage in this particular game, especially some of the fights that he had impacts in, right?
Yeah, I completely agree, and we talked about it in the pregame, right? It is the solo laners we can expect the most of. Speaking of solo laners, I actually think Bendix does a really good job at holding up against Senkux, who is one of the better mid laners of the league, coming in as a new guy here. He did a really phenomenal job here. One of the things I was a bit worried about still is the consistency of Barrage, because they are still testing limits. Some of the times they are making plays, you're looking at it and you're like, what did you just do? I'm specifically looking at bot lane once again, who is a bit happy of testing how far they can go with it. It works for them now, but it's also a chance for MNM to strike back. It is the best of three, and I don't actually think we can count them out yet.
Yeah, no, I don't think we can count them out yet. I think Barrage did a really good job of forcing plays around numbers advantages, but MNM, they did a good job of reading the map as well. There were some times, like you highlighted the bottom lane play, I think also Maxi invading the Krugs at level 3/4 as well, another sort of overreach. And it was definitely something that Barrage were a very big criminal of quite a few times in that game, but they weren't really ever punished for it too heavily outside of that bottom side play. So I think MNM have a decent-ish read on Barrage right now. I think they just need a slightly adjusted draft. I'm interested to see what side they end up taking, whether they want blue or red for game 2. I think that's going to make a really big impact on like the draft direction. But I think most of us coming into this, even though my prediction was for MNM, we were expecting a pretty one-sided Barrage game. It ended up kind of being that, but not necessarily in the fashion we expected. So I don't think all hope is lost right now.
So before we kind of head towards that second game and that second draft, which I will pick apart in a moment, Jamada, we have for the very first time, we're going to debut one of our own Telestrator replay segments piloted by your very own Gulborg. So let's bring in a replay that we're going to break down, and this is probably one of the more influential replays, definitely one of the fights that I think tipped this game in favor of Barrage. And so Gulborg, yeah, of course, mate, of course. Let's see this replay in action, Gulborg, and kind of break down what we're seeing on our screens.
Yeah, so initially we're actually looking at a Barrage team that is a bit split off here. You can see Doxy still on the top side on the minimap here because MNM's got a Herald and they want to come in and contest it here. They do get the Herald dropped, but as soon as Kakan steps a bit too far forward, they use everything on him. And I understand him. He's a beefy tank. He's Orin. He believes he can actually go in here. So initially, nice plays from MNM where they want to be proactive with the Herald, but it's just a better setup for them here. And it's actually a driving factor towards the Drake here, they feel like. Barrage, they are content with the situation. You can see that the arrow is already coming in here towards the Drake. Vendelbo getting caught out, but it's this ward behind here we want to take a look at because that's when Doxy comes in with the TP. As soon as Doxy is coming in with the TP play here, you can already see he's got one target in mind. It's going to be Monk here on this Ashe. And even though he misses a lot of the skill shot, this Ashe is basically just going to go and initially that is just a fight over Doxy. Too much damage at this point. He's farmed so much, whereas Kakan has to play a bit more for the team. He has the tank, and it's just a fight being cleaned up by that Doxy TP.
I was hoping that Gulborg was going to pause the video and do some little drawing, so I thought I'd help him out with some really helpful arrows in the middle. I was going to troll him a little bit, but hey, anyway. Yeah, Jamada, before we go back, you're going to make a point off the back of that.
Yeah, and I think on the start of that play, MNM actually do the correct thing. They force the numbers in mid. They have the priority originally, and they have the Herald. Kakan just has to not step down. Doxy's still in the top lane. It's going to take him a long time to TP, and their bot lane can rotate up. So the start of that play was good for MNM, but it's the face check into Kakan dying, into chasing, and then Doxy being able to find a really nice flank. It's just, yeah.
And they converted that, didn't they? They took the mid tier one, which was important, opens up the map, and from that point, never really felt like Barrage let go of the game. So, of course, it is a best of three, not like the regular NLC split where we have those best of ones. It is a full series. MNM can still come back. They can still look for a reverse sweep. And Jamada mentioned a couple of those changes to the draft that he'd like to see, specifically Aesthetic getting a bit more of a hyperscaling carry jungler to be a bit more dependable in these fights in terms of damage dealing. But before we get to that, we're going to have a quick break, so we'll see you very soon.
To our dreams that color bright like autumn leaves. Not looking back, we're not afraid to fly. We're forever young and we'll never die. We're one step closer to
Welcome back, everybody, to the NLC Full Open. My name is Scoundrel, joined by Gulborg and Jamada, and we are heading into our second champion select. Barrage absolutely decimated the first game, and of course, MNM have that chance to bounce back in a potential reverse sweep. And again, there were some changes. MNM have gone to blue side here to kick things off.
And that's exactly that, because in the post game of game one, Jamada talked about they at least in matchup into Graves. It's not ideal, but now when you're on the blue side, you can pick the jungler you want to first. The question is, what is going to be the bans from Barrage now? How are they going to respond to a potential Graves pick? Because if the bans are going to be the same as they were the first game, we're just going to have a Graves lock through.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm expecting here. If we see the same bans too. We'll have to see. So far, 4 for 4. I can't recall what Eminem's last ban was, but I mean, on trend
Nidalee.
for
It
that.
was Nidalee.
So.
It was
Yeah,
Nidalee.
Nidalee. That's right. They have to ban Nidalee versus Max. Oh,
Whoa,
okay.
that's a bit of a curveball though, because now there's room for both junglers. Now you can trade it, and you
Yeah.
don't mind picking Nidalee into Graves, and sometimes you don't mind picking Graves into Nidalee. It's kind of champions that want to do the same here, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I feel like Eminem are likely to just take the Nidalee first pick. If they're willing to remove Camille here on blue side and leave the Nidalee up, it makes the most sense. Let's see what Barrage's final ban is set. So my head immediately swings to Nidalee first pick. But okay, they want the Graves. They're gonna leave Maxi to it.
They're going to let Maxi have the Nidalee if he wants it. I actually have a question, though, because both MNM and Barrage blue 3'd Camille in terms of bans here. So what is Camille just that strong right now? Is it a stylistic thing to prevent split pushing potential? Like, what is the Camille ban all about?
We've seen it at Worlds too, but Camille is also that champion that can be a split pusher, but she also works well in a team fight. She's not like Jax and Fiora, where just getting in there and you have to do your best. You actually got lockdown, really good lockdown. And she's good into champions like On, that's also meta here. She can outscale him on the side lane. She's just a generally good power pick. But, you know, speaking of power picks, as Jamada mentioned, when you first pick Nidalee, the Graves, and Nidalee is up, it's a no-brainer just picking that up with Raze Ezreal here. Like, you feel so good as Barrage right now.
Yeah, they're really comfortable with their opening right now, and I think if you're Eminem, you just go down. Yeah, you go down the Ornn route again. You don't really want to take something to try and challenge Doxy in the top lane. It just seems like a really monumental task, which I'm not sure Kakan really feels up to at the moment. And with the Ornn, I mean, I imagine they just go down the AD carry route again. I would like to realistically see the Ashe. They could also take the Syndra too. It's a very strong pairing with the Graves. There's a lot of like sort of just click your button and somebody dies, but they want Kai'Sa, so Monk really is feeling himself.
Okay.
That is also interesting, because Kai'Sa into Ezreal beforehand, it was Vayne into Ezreal, because you say, okay, Ezreal, not the strongest champion in lane, and we can kind of get free scaling into him. That's the ideal. But Kai'Sa have some, changes to waters. There is a reason why she became out of the meta here as well. And the Leona pick into Kai'Sa, I love it. You can ban out some champions, again, as Braum was, where you have way more agency locking down a squishy target with no mobility like Kai'Sa.
Looking like they are taking away some solid blind picks, maybe, for Bendix in the mid lane, which would make me feel like they're trying to solidify a good blind pick for Barrage and then leave Bendix in a bit of an awkward scenario. So I'm guessing maybe they ban Azir, try and first pick Orianna potentially, or like first pick Orianna on the second rotation would be my thought process. But we'll have to see. Obviously, also they are lacking tank frontline. Okay, maybe they pick Azir instead of Orianna, maybe switch one of the two here, but
you don't actually have to do any of them, because they have already shown their top laner. You can't say that you're comfortable getting Bendix Azir again and then just leave that mid lane counter pick.
That's true.
So
You're
you
very
can get
true,
counter in 4 and counter in 5 if you want to.
Yeah,
I forgot that Ornn got picked.
yeah. I mean, I think that's just going to end up being the case, even with the two mid bans there. They know that Doxy's going to get a choice of pick regardless, even through the two MNM bans, Jason Gangplank. So, I mean, most likely a split pusher nonetheless. I don't really see Doxy taking a tank into Kakan. And
I love that. Okay, so we saw Whipper do this at Worlds as well, and the reason why Singed into Ornn is so smart is because when Ornn activates his ultimate and you ground him with the W on Singed, he can't actually reactivate the ultimate on Ornn. So it's just a slow bot. He doesn't do anything. He can't dash. He can't activate his ult again. It's just a really good nullifying pick.
Yeah, no, I agree. It really can sort of it can hamper what Ornn wants to do, especially lowers his kill threat at level 6. I like the Nautilus lock in here. In tandem with the Kai'Sa, it gives them more engage. Of course, the two champions just have great synergy. And I mean, mid lane picks, I'd imagine you just default to Azir if you're Bendix. I feel like anything else is kind of scary. Or Cassiopeia being the hover, and it's locked in. So I kind of like that too. Gives them a lot of DPS as well. Barons early on are going to be really scary if MNM are ever able to get in front of the big purple worm. One thing I want to highlight though, Barrage's comp is really AP heavy here. So there's a chance for AD mid, and Irelia hover might say that.
Yeah, Irelia hover for Stenkux if it is indeed going to be locked in. They do need to balance that damage somehow. As you said, even Ezreal has a lot of mixed damage in his kit. So it is going to be the Irelia mid here for Stenkux into the Cassiopeia. What I would say on reflection, though, is I like MNM's comp a lot more than I did previously. I think MNM have got a much more well-rounded composition. I love that they've got a bit more of that sort of proactive bot lane, especially with Tasteless having the Nautilus. I think they're definitely looking to play through Monk. This, to me, strikes me as a composition that can find a way and activate a win condition versus Barrage. Whereas Barrage, I honestly think it's a little bit more on the edge. Like Irelia mid can go really well or it can go really badly. And you know, that's going to be, given the way that Bendix played previously, I would have confidence for Bendix. I think Bendix showed that he's got what it takes. Maybe some of the Azir ultimates weren't ideal, but I think overall Bendix did have a pretty solid game, a good showing for MNM previously. So very quickly before we go into our casters again, Gulborg, this time I'm going to ask you to break down the MNM comp. Where do their win conditions lie?
Yeah, okay, so once again, they kind of have a really good team fighting with backline damage, both coming in from the Kai'Sa and the Cassiopeia here. But what they also have is someone that could bring them that. They finally have a Graves, they have a jungler that you can play towards. So with the pressure that you can generate, as we saw in the first game, it's way easier now that you actually have laners to play through it, and you have the late game scaling in the ornaments that can come through.
Yeah, massive late game scaling as well with the fact you've got Kai'Sa and Cassiopeia. So the longer the game goes, the better it's going to be. Jamada, very quickly, Barrage, before we hand over to our casters.
I think Barrage are going to have to skill check MNM with a composition like this, to be totally honest with you. It's Nidalee, Irelia mid jungle. They've got Singed in the top side, Ezreal on the bottom side. You know, they're running Nidalee with essentially like sort of one strong lane on paper, I feel like. So I think it has to be a really big skill check, and MNM's draft definitely outscales what Barrage. Yeah,
I really feel like if Barrage put a foot wrong this game, MNM can punish and essentially just get to a point where they're just stronger strictly in a 5v5 scenario as well. So much harder win conditions, I feel, to activate for Barrage going into this game. Let's hand it over to our casters now. Hitbrain and Orcs ready to take us through game 2.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. Hello and welcome back to the caster desk. We're getting ready to go into our next game nice and soon. MNM on the blue side this time, Barrage on the red, and we have the Singed in the top lane. Like this on the desk, something we had seen at Worlds from Whippo pulling it out versus an Ornn. What are you making of this, Orcs?
I mean, I think it makes sense in terms of mitigating some of the pressure from the Ornn. I think it's a good matchup into him, and I like that's being picked up here. But I feel like, all in all, I agree with the desk. The Barrage's composition, I'm not a massive fan in it. I think the execution bar is much higher than MNM's, and it kind of feels like this is a confidence pick for the side of Barrage. This is like, look, we know we're better than you, so we can pick realistically what we want. And it didn't start that way. I think the Nidalee is a good matchup for the Graves. I think the Ezreal comfort for Rai and the range advantage delivered there is strong. But personally, I'm not a huge fan of taking like the Irelia into the Cassiopeia. The grounding's super impactful there. And overall, I think MNM have an easier comp to execute. I'm looking at Barrage, and I think they need to come out strong. They need to be securing those early dragons, and I think if they miss out on a dragon or MNM get to 3 items, I think MNM should take it.
We'll have to see if they're able to do that. It's going to be about that scaling, like you're saying, and also a bit of a skill check here from Barrage. I do like their comp. I do like it, but I like it because it's flashy. For MNM, you know, it feels like the key and the answer is a lot more simple for them in this game. We'll have to see how that works out. Both the junglers will be starting up on their blue buff. And we'll have to track the jungling this time. Aesthetic was on the Lee Sin in that last game. Had a bit of a harder time kind of keeping up in farm. He was trying to gank, and a lot of the ganks really didn't work out. Bar maybe a couple of summoner spells being burnt, but there wasn't really anything gained from that. This time he's on a jungler that can scale, but can look to scale up into the later points of this game.
I really want to see Aesthetic leaning towards the spot lane more so. It felt like that's something we talked about going into this series, that often teams with Monk in will just converge around him. We didn't see that from MNM. It was what Barrage was doing, was playing around bot lane. And that is why Barrage were able to get the 4 dragons, get the Infernal Soul. I think it's really important MNM doesn't let that happen again, because that's going to be one of these big win conditions for Barrage. If they secure that soul, it could just be game over for MNM. So Aesthetic needs to be playing down towards that side of the map.
Well, early we are seeing Doxy shove the wave into Kakan. Kind of expected there on the Singe. Has got himself a bit of a CS lead and probably just bounced the next few waves into Kakan, but Kakan's kind of okay for that. He's on the Ornn, he has wave clear for himself to work with. He's not really going to lose out too heavily. And obviously, as the game goes later, hands out those ornaments, has really good team fighting prowess. As long as he doesn't get grounded by Doxy, it's going to be really, really influential in these later fights.
I think the critical thing here is that he's not the only engaged, though. They're not super reliant on him being the engaged, so he has to join the team or land his own ult. And I think the Nautilus is a big factor for that. And Tasteless is a veteran player on this roster, a lot of experience having been at E-Masters, and I really want to see him pair up well with Aesthetic to try and take over this jungle matchup, because it is a favorable matchup for the Nidalee, but it's not something that immediately takes control. It's not like Nidalee can just dive Graves level 1 and jump on him. It does take a little bit more momentum, and realistically, we're looking at about that Runic Echo spike, but Nidalee starts to really be able to challenge in the matchup. So she's able to farm cleanly up to there. She will cause some issues for Aesthetic if he is isolated from this team.
We'll have to keep our eyes on that, as it looks like MNM are getting the shove in here on the bot lane. Bit of a proxy farm did come out from Doxy a second ago before he goes and gets himself a base, picks up the Corrupting Potion, upgrading his refillable. So a little bit more to work with. Got that Dark Steel to improve the healing from that as well. The Barrage almost finding a nice Zenith Blade onto Tasteless, but he's going to be able to ping back with his recall in time. 4 minutes on the clock. Gold is narrowly in favor of Barrage. 200 at the moment. But MNM, this is fine for them. This is what they want. They want to sit back. I want to keep eyes on Dragon, because I think the main criticism that I had from that last game was the Dragon setup from MNM. So I want to see how they set up, how they can test Dragons in this game. As I have to hold that fort. Tasteless is looking for Senkux. Flawless Duet is going to get dodged away, and Senkux should just be able to catch this wave underneath his tower. Pretty easy with the Blade Surge.
So we actually saw really nice reset timings from MNM there. First, Monk and Tasteless reset. Monk actually got it off earlier. He's able to get back and catch his wave. We then saw Aesthetic also reset, and he was actually heading towards his topside jungle and changed his mind, which I was glad to see, because they have the setup right now for this dragon. And I actually see Aesthetic going towards his topside. I think this is a mistake. You should be playing towards that dragon. You don't have strength on this side of the map.
Hurt here. Zenith Blade gets dodged out as Maxi able to steal away the camp. Meanwhile, Doxy getting jumped onto by Kakan, as Doxy will fling him back, takes that tower shot, but has the rest of his team there. So he's going to be able to get out scot-free. Bendix is making his way over. Hasn't got the Petrifying Gaze, but teleports are coming in, and they're actually looking to jump on here. Rai getting towered over. Senkux actually flashes in with a Flawless Duet. Gets one Blade Surge off. We'll be looking for that second one. Monk has nowhere to go, and it's first blood to Senkux.
Yeah, I mean, you have to respect the TPs when you're going for those dives. Bendix had also just TP'd in mid, so it's not like you get assistance there. An overreach from MNM, and Monk ends up going down. We are having a short pause here, but I feel like for me, I feel like Aesthetic really should have lent into that first dragon.
Yeah.
You had priority in the bot side. You had really good resets across your team. You had priority from Bendix in the mid lane. You had everything you needed to go for an early setup on that dragon. And instead, he leans towards his top side. And yes, it's important to keep your farm up, but ultimately, you were just contested instantly by the side of Maxi, and you ended up losing those camps anyway. And you didn't actually get much off that. And you can see that Monk and Tasteless felt like, oh, well, we have all this pressure down bot side. They're leaning top. We have to do something with it. We have to go for a dive. It was just a bit messy, because that could have been a play in reverse, is that we could have seen Aesthetic set up vision around Dragon, potentially go and join in with a dive, and then they would have certainly killed Rai. And then if there's an opportunity, then they can translate into either place of the Dragon. And I think you need to be focused on this bot side, because even picking up a Dragon or two for the side of MNM could really extend the game.
I would have loved to actually seen the setup and that dive there from Monk and Tasteless, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to. Looks like the pause has ended, so we are back onto the Rift. 6 minutes on the clock, and the gold lead now has swung in favor of Barrage a little bit more comfortably, with Stenkux finding that first blood. 700 lead over to Barrage at the moment. Rai catching a wave just short of his tower. Dragon is up, and it looks like MNM are going to move over and get it this time.
Yeah. Starting to establish control over that bot side of the map. And I'm going to keep emphasizing it. Picking up a dragon at any point for MNM is huge. If they end up giving over the soul once more, they're going to be in a rough spot. They have the Scuttle Crab control. Ezreal's in a pretty big power trough here with only the tier available. I understand they're a little bit hesitant about just starting it up, but maintaining the control is a critical thing, because even if you don't end up getting this dragon, it stalls out Barrage, and there is so much scaling on the side of MNM. That is your main criteria, just to buy time.
Looks like for now they're not actually all that interested. They did get the the Scuttle Crab, so they have a little bit of vision in the area, but not overly contested. Bendix has a large wave to catch here in the mid lane. Misses that cannon, unfortunately, and that melee minion.
Oh my god, this
no, it's tragic. All right, he got this one, got it? No, he got it.
Oh, I got that one. Still,
so
that's
3 out of about 7.
A little bit rough.
That's gonna feel a little bit bad as Doxy just forcing Kakan back into the Guff Cloud. Has got Maxi waiting about in the wings as Svetic also closing in here. Doxy on the run. Here comes the Call of the Forge God. They blind him. They slow him down. Doxy pops himself the potion, but the ground comes out from Bendix as well, and he's just going to lock him down. One more Twin Fangs, and that's a nice and easy kill for MNM. That's their first on the board. As Monk gonna have to dodge away from Wendelbow, and Rai here is able to, as the hook from Tasteless is just a sliver off.
That would actually been huge there, because Wendelbow didn't have his W up anymore, so all those resistances drained away if that was able to land. And you saw there the interaction between the Singed and the Ornn, being able to use that grounding to stop the second activation. Unfortunately, when you're that deep with that many people around, it's not really going to do much for you getting out, and Doxy does go down in that situation pretty much for free.
I actually do want to talk a little bit about Monk's build here. He's gone for the Warhammer first, so potentially an Essence Reaver build here from Monk. Not going for that Muramana, Quinzu's kind of AP mixture build we see so much, but Monk actually jumps in onto Rai, pops the ultimate, takes a lot of tower shots, and now Rice is going to take him down. Another mistake from Monk in this series is going to cost his bot lane heavily. As Wendelbow will look for it. Tasteless misses the hook, and Wendelbow will be able to find this. The Ignite comes down as the True Shot Barrage will secure the kill. Here comes Kakan looking to try and mop this one up. Does have Aesthetic in the wings as well. As Rai just kiting and fighting as much as possible, but Aesthetic will slow him down and take that kill. Rift Herald picked up for Barrage in the top lane, while Rai mops himself 2 kills up as well. This should be first turret blood for Barrage.
And don't get me wrong, this is a good play for Barrage, and they're going to be able to punish his tower here, but the bot lane of MNM, I am speechless, in all honesty. That was such a massive mistake, and that has cost them so heavily. Yes, the kill is answered back to MNM, but they lose so much there. That top tower down, the Herald's going to go for a second charge, and Aesthetic, he's trying to go for this.
Yeah,
he's alone.
Gonna get stunned up by the Flawless Duet. Everybody else is now closing in, so Stenkux not going to overcommit to try and find himself a kill or a shutdown here. So Aesthetic will be able to pick this dragon up uncontested, but it's a slow first dragon for MNM. You said you wanted to see them get it earlier. 10 minutes on the clock when they get that one. Does mean we'll be looking at a more delayed soul if they can pick up the next 3.
I don't mind MNM getting the dragon later. Like, they are fine delaying it, because ultimately the main thing is they want to deny the dragons from Barrage. So I think that's fine. I think what isn't fine is everything that led up to that dragon is the big mistake. And I mean, it comes from this situation. Why does Monk have aggro? Why are you diving and taking aggro when Tasteless is basically full HP? You don't need to be an expert on tower diving to know that that's a mistake. And then Tasteless does end up missing the hook at the end there. Bit unfortunate, but ultimately the dive was just botched from minute 1. 2 kills given over to the enemy team. And yes, they find Rai here, but this teleport and Aesthetic showing bot side is what gives Barrage so much space to punish that top tower. So just a massive mistake all around.
To me, it feels a little bit like Tasteless and Monk aren't quite on the same page in this game. Multiple kind of messy tower dives has resulted in them going 0-3 as a lane. Rai being able to pick up 2 of those kills. Another one, obviously, with Stenkarx getting that first blood. You got a pretty strong Ezreal right now. Monk sitting on the components of that Essence Reaver, still has to get the crit cloak before he can finish that up as well. While Rai stacking up that Manamine. It's Doxy. Just trying to spot someone out here at the river. Hasn't got a tower anymore in this top lane. Was able to find first Terror Blood with the help of Maxi and that Rift Herald. He's got a lead starting to balloon a little bit here as they look for the pick onto Tasteless, but Tasteless is able to jump away. Does take a spear on the tail end. Oh no,
And another. You gotta dodge those.
He's out of lane now.
Yeah, I mean, this is the point. Maxi now has the Runic Echoes. This is where Nidalee starts to be really frustrating to deal with. And it is a short-range composition from MNM.
Oh, Doxy jumping in, throws down the Mega Adhesive, but wasn't in the right place, and Kakan able to chase him down for a little bit more. Just chasing him through the poison gas.
It was actually a nice move from Kakan there to kite away out of the Mega Adhesive and get the ult down. Still won't be able to kill Doxy, just a little bit too slippery from the chase down, but does manage to get a fair chunk of damage onto him.
Monk taking a little bit of poke underneath this tower as Ryan Wendelboe. They've really wrestled control of this lane. Stenkarx with the buildings of that Blade of the Ruined King on the Aurelia. Looking to base now, so they may have that finished up for himself. A Barrage, they want a base, but their tower's being sieged. They can't give this up, but they're just bleeding plates out as Tasteless does find himself a little something onto Wendelboe. Monk actually jumps in forward there. Uses the ultimate, and now the teleports are coming in. They're looking to lock him down. Monk does answer out with one. Stenkarx uses the blade passive. Here comes Bendix, throws out the ultimate, does miss it, only lands the slow. Vanguard's Edge from Stenkarx comes down onto the Miasma. Maxi looks for the spear, caught out by a minion as Stenkarx jumps back in for another, making a double kill. Beautifully executed by the mid laner as Tasteless will take out Maxi, but Stenkarx, that was flawless.
Huge there from the Aurelia. 3-0 now with the Blade of the Ruined King. This Aurelia is so strong. A little bit messy from the other members, and MNM might have been able to pull that back, but the Aurelia was just too much for them to handle. And now Stenkarx able to get a lot of damage on this tower. Should be able to actually take it with this next wave.
Yeah, he's got the Blade of the Ruined King, so he has that extra attack speed to work with. Wendelboe might spot out a Svedic here. Spots him out with the sweeper, and Svedic should still find this red buff, but with the blast going chase down, actually means that Svedic is able just to E over to safety. Doxy getting chunked out pretty heavily by Kakan, who does land the glue and looking for the flip. It's going to fade out in time, but here comes the rest of MNM. They're closing in. It's a 3 versus 3. Doxy, low HP already, but he's starting to burn down onto Kakan, keeping him inside that poison trail for as long as possible as Doxy gets ignited. Here comes the Call of the Force God. Great Mega Adhesive will lock them in place, and that's going to be one for Barrage already. Maxi's closing in. Bendix going to have to pull off a miracle here to turn this one around, and it looks like MNM are just going to take the loss and walk away.
It was just a frustrating scenario there for MNM. Kakan didn't have the easy lockdown for Doxy, and when he finally goes for the ult, he ends up getting taken out. No way he could really reach Ezreal again, and we will get that replay of the bot lane skirmish. It's a nice engage onto Wendelboe, but you shouldn't go for the play there. You should be respecting the fact he has stopwatch. You saw it last game, you should see it this game. And Monk ends up going down. And this could have been a close fight for MNM. It could have been one they actually took, but in the end, it's the numbers advantage for Barrage. Stenkarx being there, Maxi joining as well, just puts enough in their favor that they're able to close this one out. If Aesthetic had been here, it could have been a different story, but ultimately, MNM, once again, they overcommit when they don't have the numbers.
The question I have to ask is it okay? Are MNM okay? We talked about the scaling, we talked about how they have got this scaling option, but Aesthetic and Tasteless getting chunked out means they may just have to give this second dragon up over to Barrage.
And it's the right call. They position for that second dragon to look for it, but realistically, they don't care that much. It's the first dragon for Barrage. It's not a big deal. You really aren't that bothered. It's only when they start stacking them up that you're concerned.
Bendix throws out the Vanguard's Edge, looking to try and survive this, but Stenkarx finds himself the kill, and he's able to get out scot-free. An easy pickup 1 versus 2 from the mid laner for Barrage, and now Kakan, he's actually the one in a little bit of a rough spot as they do find the Zenith Blade and a massive solar flare. Maxi comes in for spears, a hero minion jumps in front to eat it, but Doxy's coming forward, throws out the Mega Adhesive, just slowing everybody down as the wave slowly but surely collapses into this mid lane turret. Tasteless lands the hook, Monk slides and glides in. That's the 4-man knockup by Kakan, and MNM have found themselves a little bit of an opening, but their health bars are low, but there is no more fuel in the tank, and MNM walk away with just the 1 kill.
So sad to see that massive 4-man knockup from Kakan, and they get nothing from it. But ultimately, MNM able to protect their mid lane tower there. Maybe a bit aggressive from Barrage. Khan gonna TP in. Not quite sure what you're going for in this situation. I think maybe the dragon contest, but you're pretty low on HP.
Senkux is about. Aesthetic and Tasteless are low on HP. They do spot out Senkux, so they know where he is. And it looks like MNM may just have to give this one up.
Yeah, please do. You don't need this dragon at all. The whole point of you getting that first dragon was so you don't have to contest these difficult ones when Bendix is just... Senkux is way too strong and Bendix is still trying to hit his scaling point. Give over this one, you can give over the next one. Look at contesting the one after that, because right now, that gold difference in the mid lane is staggering.
Yes. It is a real sore point, and this is what we were saying. The desk were hitting on. They were saying it's a skill check from Barrage, and at the moment they're the ones coming out on top. They picked the harder comp to execute with some champions, but it takes some real execution kind of prowess, and it's working out for them at the moment. They are ahead significantly, 4,000 gold up over MNM right now. They're up 2 towers. They've equalized out on the dragons, and a Rift Herald has spawned up. This could balloon that gold lead even more in favor of Barrage if they're able to pick it up.
I mean, this is the big point we're leaning towards, where Barrage are really the strongest they're going to be. Got 2 items on the Aurelia, got some CDR from that Black Cleaver, and also the movement speed to chase down anyone she dives on top of. Rai is closing in on that Triforce, and at that point, it's kind of like peak mass for Barrage. That is where they need to start accelerating the game, and MNM are really going to struggle to contest anything, especially when you look at Monk's items. Essence Reaver and Pickaxe, not really too relevant. You don't have any attack speed in your build other than your boots to start doing much, so I'm a little bit concerned for MNM, but if they can weather the storm for this mid-game, that's when they can start to come back online and contest things. They just need to stop Barrage from taking too much in these scenarios.
Well, for now, they're trying to slow it down. They're trying to scale it up. Obviously, that Essence Reaver finished up on Monk means he has evolved his Q with that Pickaxe in the inventory. We'll spy a Wonderblow there with the Void Seekers. Bendix was out on the Flawless Duet. Does throw out a nice cheeky miasma onto Senkux. Actually, they're running pretty low here. It's a Vanguard's Edge just throwing out to slow him down, but the Petrifying Gaze. A little preemptive there from Bendix, but we'll keep him alive.
It was all a bit preemptive. Even the miasma was thrown down very early, and I can understand the concern there for Bendix, but you're just putting yourself in a delicate position using all your cooldowns like that. Now Monk going aggressive to defend this tower, and they will succeed for now, but you don't want to step up too far because there's a lot of poke that can come out from Maxi and Rai, and they will throw that down on you to step up a bit too much.
Aesthetic actually will spot out Doxy, gonna get himself flipped back into the poison trail. Tasteless misses the hook, and Aesthetic loses so much life.
Yeah,
Starting to smell.
Leandri's with that poison just does so much, and Barrage finally do pick up the tower. Wendelbo just have to flash away, caught out a little bit by Kakan, but you can see this 1-3-1 pressure coming out from Barrage so excellently. Doxy, really hard to pin down, can run circles around MNM, and there's still no match for Senkux. Bendix is attempting to be that match, but you can see how scared he is of him when he went for that earlier play, throwing down the ultimate miasma almost instantly, because he knows if he's a bit late on them, he will die, but if he's a bit early, it's just as bad.
So where are we looking then? For MNM, what's the break point where this game you start to think gets back in their control?
I mean, I think it's the point where Monk and Bendix not only have their core damage items, but also have defensive items on top of that. I think that's where it becomes really difficult. So it is a long way. I think at this point, with this gold lead, I'm thinking 30 minutes is the sort of time frame where MNM can comfortably start to take fights. Like, because right now, Bendix has his Seraphs and his Leandries, he's outputting decent damage, but he still just kind of gets blitzed on by Senkux. So more time is needed, and it needs to get to the point where Bendix can sort of just withstand the threat of Senkux and is able to DPS to him. And considering Senkux is going for a death stance, that's not going to be easy.
Yeah, it's gonna really start to be hard to cut through this Aurelia as it starts to get tankier and tankier. The damage starts to spike as Maxi and Aesthetic will spot each other out. Wonderboy gets ulted here. They are going to jump in. The True Shot Barrage clips onto Tasteless as he does eat a Solar Flare and a lot from that spear as well. Tasteless chunked out a little bit as Kakan and Doxy once again just going for a bit of a scrap in this top side. As Rai will eat
how that happened
from Monk.
I mean, it wasn't the ult because you just saw the ult get used. So I guess Tasteless just, I mean, took a dangerous path. Oh, Engage comes in.
Actually misses out on the Petrifying Gaze, uses the Sarah Shield to keep himself alive. A great blind by Aesthetic, saves his mid laner's life as they get the shutdown. Here comes the knock-up from the Call of the Forge God. Monk over the wall, firing into absolutely every. Rai is going to go down. It's the shutdown for Monk. Back to safety. Maxi low HP. Here comes Bendix on that flank, looking for the Miasma. Flashes forward, finds the lockdown onto everyone. The collateral damage wipes Barrage off the map. And MNM mop up.
Huge fight there from MNM, and Monk shows the skills. Monk will carry is what we always say, and he delivers there. Him and Kakan perfectly playing that team fight, and I love the use of the terrain, the base wall to dive in and out. You can see Doxy and Wendelbo looking for him, but that little bit of distance, that little bit of terrain was enough to get them out. And I said 30 minutes. If you manage to outplay that hard, you can take it a lot earlier. MNM delivering huge on that fight.
Picking up the Baron. Now translating that into what looks to be a dragon. They are just going to go for the resets for now. Want to spend the gold from that last fight. Make sure that if they can test this dragon, they are in the best position possible to do so. Nash is 2 finished up for Monk. And let's have a little look at that dive on the tower once again.
Yeah, I mean, the critical thing there was the stun doesn't connect. Bendix kind of missed his stuff, but he managed to survive. But here, Monk, watch how the damage has been put down by Kakan, and Monk could just fire over the wall. Goes in, gets back over the wall before Doxy can flip him back in, and it's that back and forth that makes him a really undesirable target. Bendix flashing in with a Miasma just cleans up. And I think a big thing not to ignore there was the damage that Kakan was able to do in that fight. Obviously, they didn't have the damage to deal with him instantly, and his ult and his Sunfire Aura, and just generally his Bellows Breath did so much damage to these squishy members of Barrage.
Yeah, Kakan is starting to become a real difficult frontline, and we are looking at Ocean Soul, remember. Now, for the moment, Barrage are the ones in the lead as far as Drakes go, so either team picking up an Ocean Soul is going to be big here, especially when you're looking at an Ezreal and an Aurelia who'll be stacking up those Death's Dance. It will make Doxy really hard to kill while he's just been a constant nuisance to the Leandries. But the same can be said on the flip side. Bendix here on this Cassiopeia with the survivability the Ocean Drake regen will afford is going to be really, really influential. So Ocean Drake's always an important one, but with these comps, it feels especially important.
The thing is, at this point, I feel like MNM are going to be able to contest the next Drake and onwards, because Monk started to hit a bigger spike. He's got 40% CDR, so a lot of W poke able to come out to kind of match up to what Ryan Maxi have. And on top of that, you've just given such a gold influx over the side of MNM with the Baron and those kills. It's starting to look rough, especially the levels as well. There was a point where Senkux was 2 levels up from Bendix. That's no longer the case. The gold lead was 6,000. They're now actually even, just about, after taking that tower. Barrage have thrown away their lead massively, and we talked about the scaling of MNM. This is looking really concerning for Barrage to pull back this one in their favor, because, as we said, their composition is harder to execute. And yes, we've seen this roster last split show all their style, all their grace, all their ability to execute and their mechanics, but it is so difficult in this one. Nidalee becomes very hard to play in these team fights, and ultimately, it's massively down to Senkux and Rai to be the driving force. And if Senkux isn't there, you're going to have a bad time.
Looks like, I don't think Monk has actually upgraded his W yet on the Void Seeker. No, I can't tell, actually. I don't think he has. We'll have to see when he throws it out. So I don't think the Nash's alone is enough AP. I think that's why people like Rage Blade.
Nash's only has 80 AP.
Yeah,
so he needs to get
enough.
He needs to get a Rage Blade next, and then he'll have all 3 of his evolutions. In fact, actually, he just picked up the Amp Tome,
Yeah,
so now he's
have
got
it
it.
now. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So he's got the AD upgrade. Actually,
Yeah. Yeah, he does. With the Essence Reaver and Pickaxe, he definitely does. Kakan, though, being locked down. Remember, he is pretty tanky. The Ghost has been popped. Maxi's making his way over, and Kakan just trying to bolt away to safety. Meanwhile, it looks like they're looking for a play into the bot lane as Kakan going to get jumped on. They're looking for the execute. He's going to get grounded underneath this tower and finally will lose his life as there's a trade of kills here. Bendix finds himself a killing spree, but Rai will crucially take down this tier 2 in the mid lane, and Doxy takes the tier 2 in the top lane. So 1 kill apiece, but 2 turrets to Barrage.
yeah, the wave's in a much better spot for Barrage. Pushed up so they're able to instantly translate. And as well as that, they had priority mid, which is an important factor. So MNM, they're able to deal with Senkooks, but they lose quite a bit there. And you can see the gold that was roughly even not too long ago starting to pull back into Barrage's favor.
Back and forth, push and pull. We got 1 minute until this Ocean Drake spawns up. Question is, are MNM going to contest it? Do they feel lucky?
I think they can. I really think they can, but there is a chance you also botch it. That's the concern. And whoever loses this dragon fight may well just lose the Baron off the back of it as well.
I'd love to take a quick look at the gold. Actually, Monk's spacing, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, he does have enough for his Rage Blade. That's the key thing. Having the Rage Blade means he now upgrades his supercharge, so he gets the invisibility, which means it's that little bit harder to lock him down and find him in these fights.
I mean, at this point, both Monk and Bendix have their sort of core damage items. Really, the defensives aren't quite there for them to sort of mitigate the pressure of Senkooks, but the damage is. They can cut through this Irelia if they play the team fight correctly, and the goal difference is shrunk so much. Senkooks doesn't actually have his death dance yet. That's a critical thing here. And that could actually be the difference maker.
Barrage may actually just be giving this one up. Doxy does have the teleport, but he's looking to shove the wave in as Kakan maybe looking for an opportunity. Throws out the Cool of the Forge God. The stun will interrupt him as the Void Seeker lands. Everything thrown up onto Wendelbow will force him to flash out, but Monk slides in with the killer instinct. And as FedEx secures the kill, that is a killing spree to him as Doxy will take down this tier 3 turret. There is no answer here from MNM. They want to get the dragon.
And again, it slows down the soul scaling for the side of Barrage and leans MNM towards theirs, but you're losing a tower here. Potentially going to lose his inhibitor as well, and there's still pressure coming bot lane from this Irelia. MNM kind of being run around the map here. Just looks like they're going to look to collapse onto Senkooks.
Every little win for MNM take in this game, Barrage take a little bit more. They find something extra they can take. And that's what's kept them really good in this game, is the Vanguard's Edge thrown out by Senkooks, flashes away from the Petrifying Gaze. Bendix has the phase rush on, and Monk is on a rampage. He gets his 5th kill here on the Kai'Sa. So there is a slight answer out. There's a consolation prize for MNM for losing an inhibitor top lane.
At this point, it is looking rough for Barrage. They're still ahead in gold, but you've just missed out on that 3rd dragon potentially for your side. The soul is such a long time away. And at this point, MNM have started to stack up considerable items for the carries. They now have the DPS to deal with you. And critically, Bendix is now actually up in levels compared to Senkooks. Monk is up on Rai. And your team fight is not strong for Barrage. Baron going to get started, and we said how fast this one could be shredded.
Question is can there be a flip? Can there be a seal? Maxi over the wall, no one interrupting him, but we need to take our eyes back on the pit as Monk jumps in onto Rai. That's going to be the chunk. Bendix flashes over the wall looking for Maxi. Maxi trying to clear that wall in time, but he's going so low. It's a double kill for Monk as he's able to find the kill. Aesthetic will secure the Baron for his team as Bendix cashes in on the kill, and MNM take the Baron.
Beautifully executed there. The aggression coming out from MNM to look for the jungler and the bot lane is rewarded massively. They get the Baron, and Doxy, you've had too much of your antics. You're going to get shut down by the team.
Void Seeker will connect from Monk, and he can land another one of those nice and shortly. There it is. Going to go a little bit wide this time, but the kill should be picked up by somebody. As Monk actually has to jump in forward. Aesthetic flashes out. Doxy flashes out. His antics aren't over yet.
There's no way he should have gotten away with that. Monk needs to land a W. And it's dodged.
He didn't. He actually does have Killer Instinct coming up, so. But at the end of the day, that's Doxy getting out. He's got an inhibitor for his team. They have lost Baron, though. It's on to MNM to use this time effectively.
I mean, this is just the power of the Kai'Sa, Nautilus, and the Ezreal. As soon as Ezreal steps up, the ult comes down from the Nautilus. No way you get away from that. Killer Instinct to follow. Monk takes down Rai, and then Bendix going over the wall with a flash. And realistically, there's nothing that Nidalee can do in that matchup against the Cassiopeia. With the amount of HP from the Leandries and the shield from the Seraphs, even if you land the spear, you're not going to kill Bendix. And Bendix is doing so much damage at this point. We're at that 30-minute mark, but MNM were in control far before this. And right now, Barrage, they're not far down in gold, but I'm really struggling to see what avenue they can take in this game. Their team fighting isn't strong enough. And at this point, Bendix is too much for anyone really to deal with.
And you were talking about the defensive items, Monk with the Zhonya's, Bendix now getting close to that death cap, like you're saying. He's already hard to deal with. Once he's got the death cap finished up, he's going to be even harder to deal with.
I think this point is critical mass, because ultimately Monk is no longer a viable target. He's got Cleanse, he's got Killer Instinct, he's got Zhonya's. Bendix is just doing so much damage at this point. Even if you do take him down, just the poisons alone will shred your team. And there's no clear engage option. Wendelbow is the only possibility, but he'll just get decimated as soon as he goes in. And there's no great follow-up. The Miasma is such a great tool for MNM. And there, again, gets thrown down to Dissuade. Now they are looking for a collapse here.
Yeah, they are looking for it. They don't have their jungler or they already carry quite about here. So Svedic actually jumps over the wall. Monk trying to go in 1 versus 2. Killer Instinct's on. He jumps in onto the backline, but the Vanguard's edge has been thrown down. They've already found themselves a shutdown. Kakan putting everybody in barrage in the bounce house, but Maxi finds himself a shutdown onto the AD carry, and Doxy is running amok. A massive heal comes in, and Barrage have just flipped it back around. Kakan trying to find himself a quick kill onto Wendelbow, but the heals are just way too much to deal with, as Maxi is now looking to try and shut down Kakan. Aesthetic waiting in that fog of war, waiting for his opportunity to try and get himself the double kill. Here's the knockup. Aesthetic actually ran away. They look for the turnaround. They look for the damage. The spear once again dodged out as Wendelbow gonna get chunked, gonna get blinded. Spear's eaten up by Kakan as they look for one more knockup. Wendelbow takes it, but the healing is still coming forward, and it looks like MNM are just gonna have to cut their losses here, but Barrage won't allow them. Wendelbow jumps in with the Q, with the stun, as they look to took more damage in, as Maxi jumps into the backline, finds himself a shutdown. Kakan flashes over, but the Zenith Blade will connect from Wendelbow. They will keep him in this pit as Maxi will mop this up. It is not an ace because everybody has respawned, but Barrage do walk away with a team fight victory.
Should be able to get the Dragon on the back of this with jungler top laner down. Maxi has enough mana regeneration with that Athene just to walk down and assist with this. They don't need to rush. They still got 30 seconds on Aesthetic. Oh, Monk!
He's just gone straight in onto Maxi. Maxi's been forced out. One more Void Seeker. Doesn't quite hit the mark, but that's big enough to chunk him away for the moment. Now Monk's run away from his team. Teleports are coming in, and they're looking to contest. Spear connects onto Tasteless. Here comes Doxy. Here comes the true shot. They put down the Mega Adhesive. Dragon's been picked up. Big Petrifying Gaze as Bendix trades out his life for Rai. Monk's just throwing Void Seekers over the wall, and he is out. A Dragon picked up for Barrage and 2 kills.
And it has been so messy these last couple of fights. It honestly felt like there was nothing Barrage could really do to get back in this game, but MNM decided to give them a window, an overextension topside, leading into a very elongated fight. And then after all that, 2 members down, MNM still try and contest the Dragon. They've lost Bendix, they've lost Tasteless, and Barrage, they're starting to put some real damage down onto these structures.
Well, they're throwing out the Call of the Forge God. Great Mega Adhesive. They actually do catch him out in the Solar Flare, but there's the knockup and the shutdown by Monk. Senkox finds it as Monk actually jumps in for a little bit more. Senkox going low. The healing coming in from Maxi. Wendelbow just being annoying as the Vanguard's edge comes out. The Senkox is dying breath as Wendelbow will lose his life to Monk. Getting himself a nice and easy kill there. MNM do turn it around once again. This game feels like it's resting on a knife's edge. Either side can take this.
This is a game of table tennis. As soon as one team has an advantage, they just knock it over to the other team. MNM, the ball's now in their court. Let's see if they can hold on to it for once. Rai, don't step up too far here. Tasteless ult coming up soon, so Tasteless is walking over now, and if he gets in range, could be concerning, but it looks like MNM will be able to take down that tower. And they're going to keep pushing. TP coming in. Taster's about to arrive.
Mark,
It's 5
once
members
again,
strong. Oh,
jumping in. Maxi actually eats that Void Seeker to make sure Rye doesn't get completely chunked out as he dodges out on the spear. This time the Void Seeker goes wide and Monk will just supercharge towards his team and get out nice and safe. Baron spawning up in 16 seconds and MNM have their eyes turned to it. However, Barrage, they have all respawned. They spent up the gold and it's now or never for Barrage. If they can fight this Baron, if they can force MNM off, that might just be what they need.
Raj could actually... They know that they've started this Baron and they can put a lot of poke down onto them, but they need to push in. It will get shredded so fast. It's already at 6k. It's
I
gone.
think it's gone. Maxi can't get there in time. It's going to be about the fight here. Call of the Forge Squad's been thrown down as they are going to use a great mega adhesive. Monk just jumps onto the back line and gets an assassination off the Zonyas. Will keep it alive, and now Senkugs is being melted, being liquefied by Monk. As MNM have found their kills, they found the Baron, and Senkugs is just going to get flashed over, throws out the Vanguard's edge as he loses his life. Monk making up for mistakes in that first game, cashing in 12 and 4 on the Kaiser.
Strong performance, and it's really just up to Wendelbo and Doxy. No way you can defend this one. 2 towers already down. Kakan's going to TP in. He actually went bot to clear the top to clear the wave to make sure no shenanigans would come out from Doxy, but his TP isn't even available. This is going to be the end. This is going to be the equalization of the series from MNM.
And here it is. One last teleport, one last miasma as Monk is unstoppable. A collateral damage will send Barrage to the grey screen and to game number 3. MNM equalize out.
Definitely not a clean game from either side, but I think the easier draft came in for MNM. The scaling kicked in after a point, and you could see how strong Monk became, able to just solo out Rye in these fights. I think it was a bit of a draft kingdom there for MNM, but you could see Barrage did as much as they could in that situation. They really tried to make it difficult, but it was that one throw that just slingshot things in favor of the Marshmallows.
And I think the one thing I also want to talk about is MNM definitely had a team that they understood the win conditions of a lot better, and one they could execute on a lot better. But on the other side, Barrage were on definitely a harder to execute team, and they were still making that very close. So that should tell you how strong this team are. But this is looking to be one hell of a series. Now, guys, we're going to...
Here's my prediction quickly, though, right?
Go on, then.
Coming to this next game, Barrage draft a really easy, brainless composition and just stomp it.
I hope not. I hope game number 3 is as close and as clutch as that last game. Guys, we'll be back for game number 3 after this break. See you in a sec.
I'm gonna run. We are gonna run. Yeah. We are gonna run into the sun. We are gonna run into the sun. We are gonna run into the sun. We are gonna Stay sweet summertime, sipping in a high, we caught a fever for two. Go together like neon in the night, I know I'm better with you. I know that you see me the way that I am, floating on a feeling with no other plan. You make me feel good, lost in a moment. You make me feel good, hearts running wild. You make me feel good, love like I'm falling. Know that I'm all in you every time. You make me feel good.
Well, color me surprised. MNM bounced back in the series 1-1, and actually, I genuinely think both of you hit the nail on the head with the analysis. It was the sense of that it was a better draft from MNM. Clearly, better draft. It worked best. Like in a pure 5v5, the team actually worked better as a composition. But it was about Barrage's skill checking, and a Barrage absolutely skill checked Senkuk's 4-0 on the Aurelia to begin things off. But at some point, that just went wrong. At some point, they went a little bit too far with it, and MNM were allowed that space to scale into the game. As you guys correctly said, the scaling in favor of MNM. We got to that point in the game, they scaled, and then MNM just came online.
And I mean, that was just how it went throughout the whole time. It looked so dire for MNM. You had Monk who just kept diving the turret. He was 0-2, and essentially he just ended being the superhero for MNM in the late game. Frankly, he did still dive in like a psychopath in some of the moments, but he just had so much damage with him, and he packed the punch in that. I think it's really easy to see that the MNM roster plays a bit more confident when they are in the lead. They don't thrive too much when they are behind, and they also kind of came back on the mistakes of the skill checks that Barrage did. And I would like to see a bit more clean games, because let's be honest, this game was a mess.
Yeah, it was a mess, and I think this game can kind of be summed up in 2 words, and it's draft diff. MNM were kind of just running a much easier to execute composition, and as we've said time and time, skill check from Barrage. It's a hard comp to play out if you end up fuddling a lead and you give the enemy team, which is scaling a Baron in like 25 minutes. So yeah, I kind of align with what Orc said at the back end of the cast. I feel like Barrage going into game 3, they're going to just clean up. They're going to put themselves on a easier to play out draft and probably make things look like game 1, but maybe even cleaner. But man, what a bloodbath of a game.
Yeah, I think I said to you guys, I don't think it's unfair to say this, but it felt like a cocky draft. Like, I know that sounds, I don't never like to say that about a team, because I don't think they really have I don't think they have that mentality in their head when they're drafting. They're not saying
I think they have.
Like to. You think so?
I genuinely think
Okay. All right, I didn't want to say it, but I guess you guys can say it for me. But I think it felt like a cocky draft. Like, you know, Aurelia mid is one of those mids that I think can work really well, but as Jamada correctly said, it's like if you don't pop off on that, it's useless. It's not a great pick. And although he did pop off on it, and I think they technically should have won that game if they just played it correctly from about 22 minutes onwards or whatever. They let MNM have too much time, and MNM scaled up, and MNM had the functioning 5-man draft, like the draft that just worked well. It synergized together. We're actually bringing it back for round 2 here, though. Gulborg on the drawing board once more. So let's have a look at the replay that Gulborg has chosen to break down here. And I'm not going to get involved with the arrows this time, Gulborg. It's all you, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm going to try and see if I improved here. Losing is improved, right? So essentially, this is the start of the throw that we're going to be seeing coming in from Barrage here, where they are skill check again. Senkux believes that Bendix is alone all here, but we actually see that there is a Graves lurking in the shadow coming here to shadow Bendix. And as soon as the play goes live, Flash is in here, missing the flawless duelist, probably the thing that cost him here. Big shutdown going down. And as soon as you see this, they start pulling up a fight over here. Now take a look at Monk here. Got cleanse up at the moment. As soon as he sees his way back into the fight, he'll take it. So it's a great knock-up that comes up from Kakan. Once again, flashes in for Ray. Monk step forward, gets stunned, instantly clenched. Once again, a shutdown coming in. And pay attention to Bendix coming in with the flash here in a bit, because this miasma is going to be probably the best one you're ever going to see with the terrain coming down. Flashes in, root grounding everybody in here. It's the easiest cleanup you're ever going to see, and essentially they're going to get Baron up from this point, and this is the comeback for MNM to the game.
There we go. We used an arrow. We used a single arrow, and I'm happy about it.
I paused the game a bit as well.
I'm proud of you, mate. It was beautiful, and I think that flash miasma, especially in, like you said, that terrain, no one was getting out of that. It was an absolute death bowl, and that was kind of the turning point, Jamada.
Yeah, and it comes like Barrage. They're doing what they've been doing in game 1 and game 2, and they see that the play goes wrong on the bottom side, and they try and force a numbers play in mid when they've got 4. They know that Bendix is still bottom side, but they weren't expecting that MNM were going to actually have some form of shallow vision in the top side, and that's how Bendix ends up getting that really insane flank. And I mean, we kind of knew MNM with that draft, if they ever get a Baron, things get really scary from there, because that is kind of like the bridge to allow them to scale, and it's just the worst possible time for them to have tried to make that play. On paper, I think it's definitely the correct thing to have done, but they went.
Exactly, and I think Orcs addressed it as well when he was online casting it. He predicted that it was going to be 30 minutes into the game that MNM was going to come back, but as soon as they got that Baron, forget those 30 minutes. Now you had the advantage to slow down the game, to take it at your own pace. That didn't happen, but in the end, they were strong enough to take the fights and close out the game.
Yeah, and I think also, if you look back at that replay that we just saw, both of those situations just showed Barrage overstepping. Both of those situations, Senkuk's trying to tower dive in a potential 1v2 that went wrong. Then they forced numbers play under the turret, which, with their composition, it's not like they have a button where they could force like Ornn and just say, cool, turret dive, CC lock, go. They had a Singed who just runs at you and hopes that, he can slow you down or do enough poison work on top of that. They didn't really have the comp, and maybe barring the Leona to say, bam, let's make a turret dive happen. Let's force a very quick numbers play as well. Like when you're doing a turret dive, you want it to be instantaneous. You want to be burst damage, get the kills, back out, get the turret. And that didn't happen with Barrage's comp, and they just didn't. I don't think they had the comp to make those same kind of number plays that they were making in the first game. But irrespective, as both Orcs and Jamada said, this is probably now the wake-up call for Barrage to come back into this third game and say, cool, like we kind of messed around that second game. Let's shore the ship, but let's not take things away from MNM and specifically Monk. That was the most Monk performance I've ever seen in my life. Given the right ingredients, Monk will carry, and that was Monk carrying like some absolutely psycho ults coming out of Monk in that game. It was nutty. Anyway, we're going to go to a quick break. When we're back, third game on the way, the final game in this series. We'll see who takes it.
They're actually looking to jump on here. Right, getting towered over.
Ooh, he can't wait for summer. Step inside the sun. On the other side, there are lazy days ahead. And well, wouldn't you like to come? Because there's no sign of trouble in the weather, and it's looking good for the road. Tell the man in the suit inside the sun.
Waking up, the sun is rising. We can go anywhere, do anything. Put your hand in my hand, let's explore. Travel places no one's been before. Leave your fears and hear you calling. Wherever you go, wherever you are, your beauty's unique. Melody so sweet, our differences make our union so great. Together we perfect harmony. Perfect harmony. Together we will be perfect harmony. Let's get lost in a forest of green.
Welcome back to the NLC Full Open. We're straight into pick and ban for our final game of this series. Barrage have chosen blue side as the losers of that previous game. So we could be seeing 100% blue side win rate if Barrage end up taking this. They're going to ban away the Kindred and the Twisted Fate follows. Pretty similar ban patterns to our two previous games.
And now it's going to be interesting, right? Because now MNM back to red side. How are they adapting from the first game they took? Are they going to get rid of this Graves? Are they going to get rid of Nidalee because they're comfortable in playing into the Nidalee? So how are the cards going to be shuffles in this pick and ban?
Yeah, you know, contrary to that, I'm not sure if they're actually comfortable in playing into the Nidalee. I think that Maxi really put down a lot of pressure and made the deck feel pretty damn uncomfortable in the early games. So I wouldn't be surprised to see MNM ban it away. I think there's arguments for both. I think it would be really risky to leave it up, but we'll have to see how they really feel about it, because realistically, there's no other ban that they have to... They're not obligated to ban anything else, so... Oh, okay.
Wow.
Oh, no singed.
So that's the takeaway from it. Apparently the singed was just too much to deal with in terms of the on. Well, that also means that MNM for sure are going to pick that on again. Like, there's no doubt about it. But now the ball is in Barrage's court. Do you feel comfortable taking the Graves first now, or do you prioritize the Nidalee? If you prioritize the Graves here, I think that might benefit them, because I think Maxi was a bit more comfortable on champions like Nidalee, while Aesthetic is more of like the Graves type of guy. So I think this is a smart takeaway from Barrage.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Oh. I think with the Singed gone, it makes sense to just take the on, and then I would really like to see Aesthetic throw down the gauntlet and just pick up the Hecarim here. I've kind of spoken about it all series long, but
Nope.
Now he wants the reverse matchup. He wants the Nidalee now. So, I mean, it's certainly curious that they felt like it wasn't necessary to ban it out, and then they want the Singed gone, and with the Singed gone, it sort of points towards on. But I like the set. I actually kind of like the set. I feel like it's something that Tasteless is going to be pretty comfortable on, and then Kakan also likes it as a pick, and Singed is also an answer into set, or some top laners seem to like it. So I think it's actually quite a flexible ban, and it's also a flexible pick from MNM. So I'm curious to see what direction they go now.
I don't think the Nidalee is something that Aesthetic can't play, though. You know, I know we kind of painted. Yeah, exactly. I think we paint Maxi as the Nidalee specialist, but Aesthetic is like the carry jungler guy. He's definitely got the ability to play Nidalee. So I feel like this is a relatively even trade. I would say that it slightly favors Maxi if he goes into the Graves Nidalee matchup, just because he is like very, very, very proficient on Nidalee. But I think if you're making a generic swap between the two, they're both incredibly good on these champions. The Orianna prioritized very early for Senkux here. And Vendelbo maybe getting his hands on the Leona. He's had that both games so far. They really prioritize this Leona support that's going to get locked in.
I can already feel Orc smirking in the background, just because he called out that now they're finally going for a normal draft. They're not going to be skill checking. And if you pick the Orianna here this early, you're not risking anything. You don't mind the counter pick where you want to skill check him. You're like, all right, great, guys. We got the Orianna now. We can play towards the scaling game. We got wave clear. Great team fighting as well. Easier to play pick composition here as well, or team fighting composition. So I think Barrage is looking better now as well.
Into the second round, and Jin comes in as well from MNM. That's, I mean, again, another Monk pick, something else that we know he's particularly good at. Ban phase, what do you think they target on either side here? What do you think we're looking to take away? Ornn actually being banned by MNM. So MNM going to ban away the Ornn. I'm guessing that does mean that it would be set top for Kakan and not set support, but that's interesting.
Yeah, the Ornn ban strikes me as kind of strange. In the same vein, though, if they really don't want to take it, then obviously giving over Ornn to a composition like Barrage have at the moment, it's kind of daunting. You give them scaling, you give them a safe side top, and then with the Leona, you end up pairing it with sort of a kill lane AD carry, and then Barrage have a really solid draft. So in that sense, I actually quite like it. But yeah, Kakan's been on it 2 games in a row, so he's going to be on something fresh in game 3, and we'll have to see where this set actually ends up going, and Reihe's not going to have Ezreal again. So.
I think that's completely fair. I think you need to get rid of that because he's just way too comfortable on it. He doesn't mind going in and be aggressive with it. He's great at just not respecting, but he's great at knowing the limits, usually as well on this champion. He's just way more comfortable in this one. And if you want to go for a nice team fighting composition, you need Rey on comfort as well. So with Ezreal out of the table, with Jhin already picked up, it does leave champions open like Ashe, or even Caitlyn, even though she's been nerfed on patch 10.19, if that is. But it's going to be interesting to see what AD carry he will resort to now.
Yeah, I guess it's likely going to just end up being the Ashe. It's definitely going to give MNM a lot of cleanse value, I feel like, having the Leona and the Ashe as well, but could just end up seeing that just because it's such a powerful bottom lane. And it can definitely really match the Jhin Nautilus quite well. So I think it just ends up being the most sense pick. Anything else would kind of make things kind of difficult for this Barrage draft, because then you're talking about like potentially 3 sort of soft losing lanes.
Fortune.
Yeah,
that's another Rey pick that we saw a lot in the spring of this year. In the, I believe it was was Rey in the Nordics? He was in the Nordics, right, in the spring split.
He was.
So, yeah, that's a very Rey pick as well. That's very interesting to see them go with the Misfortune here. Maybe looking to be more lane bullier, so maybe looking to play around the ultimate combos with the Orianna and the Misfortune in a specific team fight. And now we're looking for Doxy's pick. And we can assume Doxy's playing into Set on the top side of the map. Yeah. This hasn't been banned away this game. The Gangplank does come through for Doxy on the top side.
Well, first off, like Misfortune as a champion did get a few buffs here on the attack speed and the Sprout, her W attack speed as well. So minor tweak to her that can make her more viable. And with Leona, she's just a dangerous pairing as well. It is like the OG lane. There is a lot of CC in the Nautilus that can stop the Misfortune ultimate, but that's basically it. And then the Doxy onto this GP just creates a nice, nice weak side top laner you can play towards, where he can still be dangerous and a lane menace.
Guys, Kakan's on Vladimir.
Whoa, wait a second. Is that Bendix set mid?
Yeah, I was thinking about this as the draft kind of went on. Is Bendix actually did end up playing set mid during the qualifiers, and it's something that really struck me as strange because Bendix in mind is a true control mage player. So I'm actually quite happy to see this. The Set and the Nidalee can work really well in tandem with each other to sort of move around the map. Set can game prio quite easily. He like sort of shoulders off the poke from Ori, so I'm quite a big fan of that pick. And then Kakan gets the counter pick. Vladimir, a lot of backline threat. I'm a big fan of this R5 from MNM here.
Yeah, it's definitely a spicy draft coming out from MNM. Barrage. Very quickly, Gulbug, before we hand to casters, what do you make of Barrage's draft?
Way easier to play. It's way easier to actually see the win condition here. They don't have to skill check. It's actually easy to play out with this one. Orianna, Misfortune, Leona, GB, it's brain dead. You're looking to team 5 with the scale.
I think it is just an ult combo fight, right? You just throw down the Gangplank ultimate, you go for the Shockwave, you go for the Misfortune ultimate for sure. Now our casters are ready to go. Hit Brain and Orcs. Buddies, take it away.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. It's a bit of a wombo combo team put together here by Barrage, and this is kind of what you were predicting. They go for something a little bit more easy to execute. That was the first half of your prediction. The second half was they stomp. Will they do that? Will you be a prophet here? Or do MNM have fight in them? We've seen in game 1, there were plays made. It felt rough because they were kind of taking them at bad times and not setting up for them right. Game 2, they took a comp which is a little bit more easy to execute on, and they fought versus Barrage, put this to 1-1. Can MNM take the win here? And if so, how?
I mean, I think they have the favorable matchup for the Vladimir that it's not too great in the early levels. Gangplank can actually go pretty aggressive on you, but once you hit that break point at level 9/level 10, it becomes very difficult. And you have him combined with a set to provide a lot of threat to this backline off Barrage. So I think if you execute correctly, if you're finding the backline access for those solo laners, you have long-ranged follow-up from the likes of the Nidalee and the Jhin. There's definitely scenarios I can see them finding good engages into team fights, good picks, but ultimately I feel like Barrage, all they have to do is group and just look for picks. Start a fight with the Leona, follow up with GP Ultimate, and it kind of just plays itself. So I think by that, I do think Barrage will find it easier, but it's not hopeless for MNM.
It's definitely not hopeless, but it is going to be a hard fight for them. This Barrage team is scary in that 5-on-5 as we take to the rift for the third and final game of this series. The first game here at the NLC Full Open over in Group C. Barrage are pegged to be one of the favorite teams in this tournament. And MNM, I had them a little bit classed as the underdogs. There is definitely there's definitely a lot of promise in this team, but they have a first game that is incredibly rough for them.
Yep. And just for anyone who didn't get to see the format earlier, it's double elimination within these groups. So even if MNM do lose this series, there's still another chance for them to fight through. And considering they put a lot of fight to Barrage, who, as you said, a lot of people see as the favorites, I fully think they'll continue to fight their way through the tournament, regardless of the outcome of this game. But Barrage are looking like the favorites. MNM's composition, I feel like it's all about what Kakan can do, what Aesthetic could do, what Bendix can do. I'm looking at this top side of the map because ultimately you have this super strong scaling top laner, and then you have a great mid-jungle duo. You got the CC from Set, Skirmish and Power, and Nidalee, who really can run away with games. So I'm honing in on them in the earlier stages to see what they can achieve.
Alrighty, well, junglers starting up on the same side. Red side start a piece. Could see the map divide, or we could see the two junglers just kind of go in their separate ways. It does mean that Aesthetic will be heading towards the bot side if he does a clear downwards, while Maxi may be heading top side and could look to try and put Doxy in a more comfortable position. Because like you said, that level 9, once you kind of max out the transfusion, it does actually start to get a little bit rough versus this Vladimir. But for now, with the trial by fire and the grasp of the Undying, Kakan is going to be getting bullied around pretty heavily.
Yeah, so a lot of people talk about this matchup as a counter matchup, and it is, by all means. I'm not disproving that. But you can sort of see here that it doesn't start from level 1. Vladimir isn't that useful at this point, and he has Sustain to help mitigate the pressure from the Gangplank. That's what he does well. But ultimately, Doxy is the one who's going to have control of the laning phase. It's only once Kakan has some CDR available to him, once he's put points in his transfusion to reduce the cooldown, that he starts to hold his own. And then obviously, as it goes later, he eventually gets to the point where Doxy shouldn't be able to deal with him at all, and he can just potentially even look for solo kills in the side lane. But as you can see, for now, it's not as smooth sailing.
No, not at all. He's down 10 CS, make that 14 at the end of this. We'll be able to catch up somewhat with this wave crashing into him, but there's not enough. And if you're missing minions as well, it's also going to be a little bit more rough for you. This is, Doxy will get himself a nice and easy early base off and cash in on a cull.
Smart choice. Been pretty popular recently. A lot of AD carries have been going for a cheater recall for a cull in the bot lane, and Gangplank definitely a champion who can also benefit from this, I think. So people have seen that you still get quite a bit of strength from the cull in terms of what the item offers. Obviously, one of the downsides is it doesn't build into anything, and it's not quite as gold efficient for the raw stats as the Doran's Blade, but considering you get a return on your investment, definitely a solid pickup.
Monk actually went back for an early base himself, picked up the Swifty boots. So be a bit quicker back into the lane. Not really going to lose any minions because of that. So nice base for him. Resets a little bit of mana and the health for himself. While Stenkuk's cashing this wave, it is being pushed into him.
I'm a big fan of the early Swifties on Jhin, because ultimately it just makes it so much more difficult to take trades against him, because he can move quickly in and out landing that fourth shot, and also just dodging away from Wendelbo's engage. I think if you're a champion who does go Swifties, pick them up early is definitely a decent shout.
We'll have to see how he's going to be able to navigate this lane now that he has that available to him. Both the supports come in and minion dematerialize those cannons. It's definitely a bit more chill here, this first game, compared to what we had in the last 2 games, as Doxy does get himself a very favorable trade once again off versus Kakan. Kakan level 4. Doxy actually flashes in forward here. Kakan able to survive with a trade out of his own flash, but that's going to be him forced out of the lane, and he's just bleeding gold right now, and he's going to have to teleport to keep himself relevant. They are maybe looking for Wendelbo. Minion says, get behind me, Mr. President, but that's onto a trap. That's into the deadly flourish as the Make It Rain does come down a little bit, and now Maxi closing in. MNM don't want to get a little bit too greedy here. Drake is going to be started and should just be picked up by Barrage, but members are collapsing in on both sides. No ultimate available to Stenkux. Bendix not really able to get himself close enough either, but MNM are still contesting. Aesthetic is bolting down as quick as possible as traps are being layered out. It looks like MNM, they're going to be here in time to contest this. As Bendix gets jumped onto, puts a massive shield out from the face breaker. As first blood is picked up by Stenkux, and this will be a dragon picked up here for Barrage.
I mean, honestly, I think that MNM made the right call there. It was pretty distinctly obvious that a TP was going to come in from Doxy. He saved his TP before, but ultimately it gives Khan a little bit of alone time in the top lane. Yes, the dragon goes down, but you're losing it anyway. I think forcing the TP, and you get Stenkux's as well, I would say worth overall, in my opinion, even though they lost a member. At the end of the day, you weren't really going to be able to take that dragon being down the teleport.
No, I don't think they were able to, and that's just the power of what they were able to get from Doxy in this top side. Stenkux has actually made his way up here as they are starting to move into that level 6 mark, and they feel a little bit less secure versus the Vladimir now that he has the ultimate available. But Wonderboy is looking here for Bendix. Bendix, no ultimate available, and the Flash Zenith Blade into the barrel chain. He's going to take a lot of damage, has got himself that big shield to work with, is going to try and survive it out as long as possible. Throws it out for the shield as Aesthetic makes his way down, looks for the spear, spear gets dodged. Cannon Barrage comes down and Doxy finds the kill. Barrage cash in on my second.
Yeah, really nice rotation there from Wendelbo to find an opportunity to punish Bendix, who's not only flashless, but no ult, which is often a great escape tool. I actually also really like the swap coming out from Barrage. Initially, I think it was just used to kind of catch the waves, but I think it works out better for them. Gangplank is fine and actually a lot more comfortable playing into Bendix, the melee champ at this point. And Stenkux on the Orianna, this is a great matchup into the Vladimir because honestly, if he steps up to try and heal, you can really harass him. And Orianna has the sustained damage and the poke to really put Kakan in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah, Kakan really suffering there. He walks up, Stenkux just chunks him, and Maxi about as well means he is at threat of taking a little bit of damage, but with the ultimate and with the blood pool, not really going to go for that tower dive, just going to try and catch this wave and look to try and scale himself up here. That's what it's like, but all MNM can really do at the moment is just try and get themselves back in this. They are down 1,000 gold at the moment to Barrage, down 2 kills as well. So it's not over, but it is a rough start for MNM.
Yeah, but ultimately, you're kind of okay with this in this situation because when you look at top lane, think how bad that initial matchup was. And Kakan now is actually pretty close in terms of CS. Obviously, there is a kill in favor of Doxy. He has the cull payout as well. But Kakan has managed to navigate this early point, and he's going to start moving towards the point in the game where he actually starts to challenge Doxy. So I think ultimately, yes, Barrage have an edge. You can't dissuade that. I think MNM still in a spot that they can work around.
Yes, but on the other hand, you do have to look towards those 2 mid laners. Stenkux up pretty significantly right now to Bendix with that kill in his pocket as well. If we take a quick look at the gold, should be able to see that Stenkux is up pretty significantly here over Bendix. Bendix. Stenkux, but I'm merged them into one.
Yeah. True, and it's definitely a factor in this situation. Obviously, Orianna being strong is never a good thing, but ultimately the set's role is going to be tanky, is going to be utility, so it's not the biggest concern, but Barrage are ahead. We can't sort of take away from that. They are in a position where they can start to apply a lot of pressure, especially as Bot lane now having the ultimate from Rai. If Wendelbull gets his, Monk can just die in one CC chain against the bullet time. So a little bit precarious. And at the moment, you've got pressure in all 3 lanes from Barrage. You can't actually have the ult just to mitigate the wave here.
And just loses all that health again.
Yeah. I mean, Doxy is continuing to apply pressure in this matchup, even past the point where MNM start to find some momentum. And you'll see Maxi just using this pressure to get control off this Herald. And as we said, coming into this, both teams have options. Barrage feels easier to play, and if they get themselves a gold lead, I don't see a scenario where they really start to lose this.
Yeah, that's the Rift Herald picked up as well. The plate's going pretty low here on this top side turret. They could look to try and slingshot Doxy even further ahead of Kakan. Every time that grasp is up, Doxy just walks in, gets the Q off of the Sheen proc, and that just chunks Kakan so heavily.
Yeah, especially with having grasp enabled on top of that. Really not a fun time for Kakan in this situation. One of the strongest things about Gangplank, the fact that you can abuse grasp procs at melee strength from ranged, is pretty powerful.
Infuriating is what a lot of people would say.
Unbalanced is what some people would say. Unfair is what other people would say.
There's a lot of ways you can talk about it.
Yep.
As Kakan, that's rough, buddy. But he has now hit the double CDR item in his build.
Yeah, he gets so he's at double CDR now. Level 9, he maxes his Q, so he'll be at the shortest cooldown he'll ever be in terms of leveling it. And then level 10, he gets the 10% CDR from Transcendence in his runes. So that's where he really starts to come online. Do you see that MNM able to take this? We're trying to manage to take this dragon. Maxi comes in to go for the steal, but Aesthetic should be able to get out.
Yeah, just about dodges out on that Zenith Blade with the Blast Cone. A couple of plates are picked up, though, in the mid lane. Senkux was able to cash in on that. So Dragon for plates. MNM probably okay with that, actually. Slowing the pace down a little bit somewhat. Monk does miss out on the Deadly Flourish, and the Spear also going a little bit wide. Now Kakan starting to feel a little bit more comfortable here.
You'll definitely take that situation. Big thing is denying these dragons from Barrage, so they can't use their gold lead to force an early soul. So nice takeaway there, but ultimately it's just more and more gold on the side of Barrage. Senkux is starting to balloon a bit, which is pretty scary. And as you said, though, Kakan will be able to hold his own a bit better in this situation. It's like Doxy isn't giving him much space, but the shorter cooldown on the Q just ultimately means that you're healing more, you're trading more. He's still getting hit pretty heavily in this scenario.
It's like, we're like, don't worry, once he hits level 9, he's going to be fine. And we just go to level 9, have a look at the lane, and Doxy just Qs him, and it does more damage when he's healing.
We just tell him, it's cool, it's fine. When you get to level 9, things will be okay. And then he's like, he gets to level 9, it's like, well, we didn't say they'd be good, we just said they'd be okay.
Level 11.
Level 18, level 18. Full build. He's scaling for game 4. He's scaling for game 4.
Probably need to send him the memo. Svedic is going to secure himself this red buff, although Wendelbow got pretty close to stealing that.
That's the series ender. I think if Wendelbow stole that, I just don't know how you recover from that mentally.
Oh, there we go. Kakan gets a good trade and instantly gets jumped on by everyone. Has got a Svedic nearby and has got Tasteless. 4 versus 3 with the tower to work with MNM. Now looking to step up here. Shockwave available, collateral damage, and Cannon Barrage available. Here comes Bendix. There he goes.
Yep. Rai and Monk just farming off the other side of the map. Not too concerned by the rotations of the rest of the team. They're just focused on picking up the farm. But it's a nice sort of cover from the side of MNM, moving up to make sure that Khan doesn't get punished too hard there. Did lose a little bit of farm, but does not get dived, and the tower still up and available.
And the nice thing there, actually, is Monk was able to pick up a lot, because he went mid lane to collect that wave with the Swifty Boots movement, then bolts it back down to bot lane and cashes in on another wave for himself. So actually pretty nice there from Monk, just to get himself a little bit additional gold in his pocket. He's gone for the Gwyn's the Yumu's Ghostblade. There we go, got the right one.
Got there in the end.
Got the Ghostblade as his first item, so Lethality Jin coming out here for Monk.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting is people have been pretty heavily committed onto the Storm Razor build for the most part, but there's a couple of people who still go for like the likes of a Ghost Blade as the first item. Obviously, in terms of ability damage, there's a ton of it. The movement speed, a really powerful active as well, and the burst damage he shoots. So, you know, I can understand the reasoning here. Obviously, wanting to be able to contest these fights early. Now, ult comes in actually from Bendix.
Oh, good deadly flourish into the curtain call. Wendelbo dodging away. Monk misses 2 for 2 at the moment. Is able to land those last 2 though. As the Svedic looks for the spear, and Maxi just flashes in forward, finds himself a nice and easy kill. Shockwave's flashed out by Bendix, able to jump out. Here comes the bullet time. There goes Bendix, and it's 2 for none in favor of Barrage. They're 4-0 on the board.
Yeah, and I mean, I can attribute that entire play down to burning everything onto the support Leona. Not the best plan. Ultimately, weren't even able to take Wendelbo out.
Oh, no.
It backfired pretty heavily.
Khan actually able to hit up pretty healthily there, turning it around. Forcing the flash out from Doxy. He goes for the all-in, and mid lane turret will collapse, but that's that Vladimir we were talking about, starting to look a little...
Hey, hit level 10, we said. What did we say?
Uh-oh.
Oh, looks like Barrage here is a level 10. He's a problem, so they've come to sort him out.
To show him what's what. We got 40 seconds until this dragon spawns, and Barrage have actually committed a lot of members topside, but so have MNM now. So they may be looking for this. Maxi will spot out Aesthetic as able to heal himself back up, and now MNM are chasing for a little bit more. The dissonance speed up means for Barrage should just be able to get out of there scot-free. And now Monk's going for a base just as the dragon spawns. MNM may just try and pick himself up this Rift Herald. Although, no, they're actually just going to bolt towards the bot lane.
Yeah, I don't think the Herald's a big priority. Second Herald, you don't get plates for it. And ultimately, it's not like there's any way they can use it effectively, because right now, Barrage is significantly ahead. It's a bit risky. Now, Engage actually coming in.
Yeah, they are looking for it. Wendelbo just can get a bit of trading off for the moment, looking to chase. Doxy coming in on the flank. Senkux slows Tasteless down as the barrels are going to get interrupted by him, but he still loses his life to Doxy nonetheless. And Barrage just bully their way back into this river and get their hands on the second dragon for themselves.
Yeah, just a bit of an overreach there from the side of MNM. You know you are far behind right now. You just need to back away. You can't really opt into that scenario. It's just the second dragon for Barrage. It's not a big deal. I think it's fine to give that one up and focus on the later dragons. Starting to feel a bit concerned for MNM here. They're significantly far behind, and although things like the Vladimir are starting to come online, Doxy's really fed, and he's now picked up the Executioners, so I still think it's going to be a while before you can start to dominate that top lane matchup. And that's just one lane. Like, mid lane, Senkux is so strong right now. And Rai is in a really comfortable position on this one-item spike. It's worrying. MNM need to find a window at some point, but the thing is, I'm not sure time necessarily favors them.
Well, that's what I want to ask, actually. I wanted to talk a little bit about this build on the Jhin. How do you feel like this goes versus the crit build if you're looking at scaling and potential late game options? Is it more about the mid game, or does it still have scaling options?
I think it's still fine in the later stages, because you still get like a fourth shot crit, and it makes that really hurt. And the thing is, you're against squishy champions. Like, no one's building armor on the side of Barrage, so I still think it's fine. Like, you're still going to get a ton of AD on the Jhin. So I don't think that's necessarily going to be a problem in the later stage, especially you can get things like Edge of Night, which are really powerful against Barrage. I think my bigger concern is things like the Set and the Nidalee going into the later stages just aren't really going to hold up against the likes of the Graves and the Orianna.
Yeah. I'm going to Tasteless. Looking in for Wendelbo. He takes the Zenith Blade. The Svedic's coming in. They get the Solar Flare. Everybody from Barrage is here. Monk has to flash away. Recharging on those shots as he misses out another deadly flourish. Benedict's coming in. The curtain is going to get cooled, and they're going to cash in on one kill. Now looking for another, unable to get it. Monk's just going to have to deal with the Rift Herald as the rest of the team are chasing in. Kakan is able to cash in on a kill for himself as Senkux is going to put the ball forward and look for a little bit of damage. Still has that shockwave to work with, and he's actually going to single-handedly force 3 members of MNM away.
Yeah, I mean, Senkux is so scary right now. They can't really do anything with other ultimates available, so he's still chasing them, not letting them recoil, and Doxy is just clearing a tower mid, so the fight is won by MNM, but Barrage end up taking things on the rest of the map.
That's a scary robot, but Oriana now getting jumped in onto the Monk. He takes so much damage, flashes forward for him, shields himself, and Senkox, 1 versus 2, finds himself a kill. Aesthetic's closing in, Bendux is going low. Now it's going to be Aesthetic able to cash in on the 650 gold shutdown. Monk loses his life. Senkox is just styling on MNM in this game.
He just keeps switching between Bendix and Bendux, like every other sentence. I'm not complaining, it's great.
Literally merging the two mid laners together. Bendix.
I mean, this is just Senkox styling, dodging away from everything. And here, Bendix, perfect flash for Senkox to get away from that stun, takes down Monk, and then is almost able to take down Bendix, but Bendix makes the right decision to kite away, and Aesthetic able to clear that one up. But still, that Oriana causing a lot of issues for the side of MNM, and will continue to do so, obviously scaling extremely well into the later stages of the game.
Absolutely is. We're at that 20-minute mark. You can see goal difference between the mid laners, the bot laners, and the top laners is disgusting, frankly. Aesthetic, the only one up in his role at the moment. That's not really enough to slingshot this game in any
the only
favor of
reason
MNM.
Aesthetic is up that much is because he just got a massive shutdown from Senkox.
True, yeah. And actually, that only put him 400 gold up when it was a 650 gold shutdown. So you can see he was actually behind the curve before that play. If we switch back to items, love to see where we're looking at now. Monk building towards the I attack you faster when I'm alone item.
Sanguine Blade.
Sanguine Blade, thank you. Is he actually? He's not alone. He's just dead. Everything's been thrown onto him. Aesthetic actually comes in with a very clutch heal. Monk's able to get out, throws out the Deadly Flourish, might be able to get himself far enough back to pull out the curtains. As Maxi closing in onto Tasteless, they just go for the flash forward, and actually, there's going to be everyone gifted to Monk. Does miss out on that Deadly Flourish. Barrage do not have breaks. It is just acceleration into MNM.
I saw Monk stopping to set up that ultimate, and I was like, no, dude, you do not have time to do this. The heal from Aesthetic came in and kind of gave him enough space to survive, but Barrage are all go all the time, and really, MNM just not being given any space. You can see, even with that play going on, Senkox able to find a tower on the top side, and now...
Oh,
look, the Duck is flashing over.
The same wall. Aesthetic's going to go very, very low. Monk's all alone. Remember, he's flashless, and they're just going to flash onto him. Rise looking for it. Monk's all alone. The shockwave onto 2 from Senkox, as he's going to be able to get out. Right just finds himself an easy double kill. And we're 21 minutes on the clock, and it looks like your prediction was on point, Orcs. They dropped an easier to execute team. They get themselves 3 dragons and a turret at 22 minutes into this game. Open base into MNM.
Yeah, I mean, MNM struggling to find any footing in this game, and Barrage are just consistently applying pressure. The fact they're all flashing over the wall there to follow up, they're playing with their food at this point. 4 minutes and a half until Ocean Soul. They are 10,000 gold ahead, and as you said, this is an easy comp to play around. I don't think they're going to have any difficulties closing this one out, but MNM still need to try and find at least some obstruction, find a way to challenge them. And it really comes from this Baron. If you find a scenario where Barrage are trapped in the pit, where they're taking magic MR Shred from the Baron, that's when Kakan can potentially come in and look for a big ultimate.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the Spellbinder on him. Now, still, that's it as Kakan. You're not going to be shredding anyone if you're getting killed by Senkox. Flashes away to safety. Senkox does look to chase for a little bit more, but unable to find the kill. That is now the flash down on Kakan, and that's a big tool down. If he wants to look for kind of a big 1v5 performance. Solar Flare connects, and here's the hook, actually. They do get the Deadly Flourish and the Curtain cool down as looking for that opportunity, but look at the bullet time from Rai. Shredding through the health bars. Big shield as Monk does find himself a crit, and now he's the one being jumped onto. Kakan jumps in onto the backline, gets himself the ultimate off, and Rai is going to get shut down by Kakan. Barrage being turned onto by MNM here. And now Kakan looking to see if he can find Senkox. Monk looks to come over the wall. Senkox going to be slowed down. Deadly Flourish will land onto his mark, but look at the damage Senkox is doing. It's enough to zone them away. They can't chase this guy. He's so quick. He does so much damage in with Wendelbow in the wings. He might just be able to turn this around.
Don't do it. Don't. What are you?
Already been chunked, and now they're just looking for the support. Senkox is on a killing spree. as he finds yet another kill.
Why do they keep chasing this Orianna? Like, it looks like it's a decent play for MNM. They have a good fight, and then they start running at this Orianna, and they're just losing so much HP. Just take a win.
Look
Slow
at the
down.
level deficit between Kakan and Doxy right now. 2 levels down, but let's have a little look at this fight once again.
Yeah, so this is a bit of an overreach from Barrage. They only have 3 members here, and MNM end up having more. It's a really solid engage from Tasteless, and a lot of damage is put down. And I feel like at this point here, you can kind of just back away. You know the other members are going to be moving, but Senkux arrives, 2 kills turned around pretty quickly, but that's when Kakan comes in. So things are still okay, but at some point, you have to accept we don't have any tools left for Senkux. We've used all our ultimates, we've used our CC. Orianna is extremely powerful, but instead they keep chasing. And look at Monk's HP here. Why are you running at this Orianna?
Why indeed? And
I mean, again, like,
the Sveta gets caught out. They didn't expect the Wendelbo to be there. And
but even if they knew Wendelbo wasn't there, Orianna can still just one-hit you with a QW. I just think you need to respect this champion more. If you don't have Bendix literally pressing R on Senkux, don't go near him. It's that simple.
Careful, Tasteless. Able to get away. It does feel like this set mid really hasn't been able to offer too much here. It's kind of just giving Senkux a free lane, and Bendix has been paying the price. Now, I do look at Kakan. Closing in on that level 14 at the moment. He's got a death cap almost finished up for himself as well. He could be a real nuisance, but for now, they're jumping in onto Tasteless. He gets slowed down, throws out the depth charge as well as the Deadly Flourish and the Curtain Call is going to be used. Senkux unanswered for the moment. Kakan's making his way forward. Is going to jump in forward and actually look to throw down the Blood Pool. Does connect it onto a couple of members. This Wendelbo's going to go low, but Senkux comes in with a Shockwave. Able to turn around. Wendelbo flashes forward. He's going to pay the price. Bendix secures the kill. And that's actually 2 kills picked up for MNM, but they are losing a lot for this. Their base is in shambles. Doxy is just split pushing away, and they flash onto Senkux, not able to find him. They're going to lose an inhibitor here.
Yeah, not much they can do about that. Oh, he's gone.
Oh!
Never mind. The root from Monk coming in.
Now, Doxy, can he make the hero play happen? Doesn't do too much damage to Monk at the moment as they are going to close in onto him, but Kakan has taken down Doxy. What the hell was that?
That was messy. That was messy. I thought, honestly, he was going to get away there. The root, though, coming in from Monk, the thing that's able to stop the TP. But then Khan just a bit over-aggressive there. Pool used early. And Doxy, he is so strong right now. 80 CS lead on Kakan, and with a ton of kills as well. He is so fed.
And the scary thing is I think Kakan is the most scary member here at this Dragon. And he's not here. He doesn't have teleport. He's not going to be here in time.
And this is
MNM are going to look to contest. They aren't with Doxy either. Wendelbo coming in onto that flank. Deadly Flourish will hit him. He takes a little bit of damage from Monk as Maxi getting chunked out by Aesthetic. Solar Flare lands onto Senkux. Senkux still just trying to be a nuisance on the side. Monk diving in and out of these as here comes the bullet time. Aesthetic's going to lose his life. There's a double kills picked up by Senkux, and this will be the Ocean Soul over to Barrage. They are home at sea.
That was messy. And I think what happened there was Bendix thought his ultimate was available. That is my only explanation. We'll get to see in the replays. It looks like Barrage aren't going straight for the finish. They're looking towards that Baron. A soul in hand, they are super scary right now. And this Orianna, 8-1 and 6, 25 stack Medjai, Spellbinder as well, and Phase Rush. So extremely mobile and doing a ton of damage. His series looks as good as done for Barrage.
Yeah, looks like Barrage being able to nip this one here.
Just watch Bendix here. He flashes behind Senkux, and it looked like he wanted to go for the ult. You can see he even pauses for a second, but his ult isn't actually available. So I think he actually thought he had his ult up. I can't understand why else you would go for that play, trying to flash behind him. And it was just not ensuring you have your cooldowns available. That's my only explanation for what happened there. But ultimately, Barrage get the fight, they get the soul, they get the Baron. Things are not looking good for MNM.
I also want to hit on, in that fight, if you were watching Monk on the back, he just didn't touch Wendelbo. Obviously, Wendelbo's the only one stacking armor, and when you got this lethality field, you're trying to deal damage to the only person with armor, it's just not going to happen. And Monk is just incredibly far behind the curve compared to what Rai's able to do, and it's feeling rough right now. You just have a Jhin who's not really able to sink any damage in, and your Vladimir is getting taken out before the crucial dragon spawns are coming up, and your set mid just doesn't really offer too much at the moment. Baron on to the side of Barrage, 28 minutes on the clock, and with the gold lead this big, 8 towers to 0. MNM are just not in a position to contest as Monk able to dodge away on a little bit here. Mid lane inhibitor will lose its life as...
Oh, wow. Barrel!
Wow, that barrel from Doxy did so much damage, and Monk landed his last shot to keep himself a little bit of pride there. Maxi does take a little bit of damage as the grenade bounces around and does find himself a nice little route, but Tasteless will lose his life to Maxi. The long-range collateral damage, inhibitors are down, and this is just League of Legends by the book. Every structure is going to crumble as MNM are just going to watch their base fall apart. Doxy secures himself yet another kill as the last tower will fall down after they find themselves a few more kills. MNM will lose the series as Barrage win 2-1.
Well, can't say I didn't expect it, but ultimately Barrage convincing in that one and kind of reminding us why they were the second place team in the summer season. Now, there were definitely moments like that game too where it felt like they were beatable, they were flawed, but they do know how to play some damn good League of Legends when the time comes to it, and they definitely showed that off there.
I think, well, first of all, game 2 was a little bit of a they were playing a bit of ego there. They were trying to skill check MNM, and unfortunately for them, MNM just drafted a very easy to execute team comp, and then MNM just went for something a little bit more wild, and it just didn't quite work out there. And MNM lose the series. Barrage definitely showing us why they are the favorites to win this entire tournament here in the first day. But now, guys, we're going to cut to a quick break, and when we're back, we actually have an interview with Doxy, so we'll see you in a second.
Sunsets, high rise, you know you're on the floor, diamonds, good life, walking the golden door. Everybody knows that you want it more, more. Ice cold to the touch, we're gonna burn it down, bodies so hot until we hit the ground. Everybody knows that you want it more, more. It's not my fault. I don't wanna talk about it, not tonight. No, you probably think about it, but it's fine. Playing all the same, you know there's no amount, 'cause money makes the world go round. I don't see a problem till it makes me sick. Dollars by the minutes, I'ma spend it quick. Knows I keep me down, but I'm doing it now, 'cause money makes the world go round. Sun kissed on my lips, the way I want it now. Don't trip, never slip. They wanna take me down. Talk is never cheap, so you say it loud, loud. Say it's not my fault. I don't wanna talk about it, not tonight. No, you probably think about it, but it's fine. Playing all the same, you know there's no amount, 'cause money makes the world go round. I don't see a problem till it makes me sick. Dollars by the minutes, I'ma spend it quick. Knows I keep me down, yeah, I'm doing it now, 'cause money
Welcome back to the NLC Full Open. Barrage win their first series against MNM. Bit of a nail-biter, went all the way to the third game, but that third game didn't feel that close. And again, I'm going to say it, Doxy just smurfed top lane. Like, he really did. Like, the man was on fire on the gangplank. I think we saw a big top diff this series, and Doxy was the big driving force. But honestly, Barrage kind of, essentially after that little bit of a wobble in game 2, thought, okay, let's sort it out. Good draft. Just win the game.
I mean, it was just Dox, right? He literally called it. He was like, okay, Barrage, they're just going to pick an easy to execute composition. They're just going to play the game properly, and they're just going to destroy them. And that's exactly what happened. Doxy smashed them, Senkook smashed them. I think the only close matchup in this game was the jungle matchup. But outside of that, even the bot lane of Barrage actually looked better.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Doxy, I've actually got him here for an interview, so he's ready. So I'm going to already bring the interview in with Doxy from Barrage, and we can have a little chat about that series. So it's good to see you, Doxy. It's been a while since we got to chat since the NLC. I hope you're doing well.
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm really good. And obviously, I can see your mate's beautiful smile. I already know you're happy winning that series.
I'm always happy.
Yeah, I know you're always happy, mate. Okay, let's talk about that series then. Obviously, game 1 pretty clean from you guys.
Yeah.
I feel like you and the Mordecai is a big influence in that game. Obviously, we went into game 2. Talk to me about game 2. Was that a bit of a limit testing draft? Were you just kind of trying things out? Like, what was the game 2 draft all about?
I mean, I think game 2 draft was a bit homemade. Even the Singe deck, it was a bit rough to play against their champions like Cassiopeia and Graves. Like, just hard to get onto anyone. But the game was in our hands. I went a bit deep a few times. I was having maybe a bit too much fun, and then it was like, oh, actually, we can't win this game anymore. Okay, we just have to try to split them up and try to win that way. But we faltered. And for game 2, okay, let's just chill a bit and just go back to the roots and just play what we know. Then it was quite easy.
It felt like it was a skill check game 2, and you did win the skill check, but then you just kept trying to skill check over and over again, and I went a little bit too deep. Obviously, you guys stuck together from the European Masters, right? You guys have you stuck together through all the seasons. You kind of obviously moved from Riddle to Barrage. How did you guys feel coming out of the European Masters? It was honestly, it was a very rough draw for you in the play-ins. I don't think anybody can kind of fault you for the performance there. It was not the easiest pathway to get in. How did you guys feel about European Masters as a whole? Did you guys learn anything as a team coming from that experience?
Yeah, I think it was a really good experience. We had a really good run. Kind of sucks that we just it ended like that, because we've been playing so many days in a row, and then it's like, oh wait, we're actually out now. We just had we performed really, I would say, really, really, really bad. I mean, we could have at least given LDLC a chance, it shouldn't have been as a stomp as it was. So that's what I regret, or look back at, and I think, okay, here we messed up. But yeah, I mean, overall it was a really good experience. We all liked playing with each other. It was all good fun and banter, and yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a bit. I remember being at the European Masters thinking that's a really grim draw for Riddle. Coming from that group against LDLC, it was a tough one for you guys. But I think, clearly you guys stuck together because you enjoy playing with each other. It's still showing through in your performance here in the NLC Full Open. Do you guys see any other teams in this competition as a serious challenge? Because I think there is a wide spread of teams of varying skill levels, obviously. Most people have pegged you guys as probably the favorites for the tournament. But do you see any other teams that you would think, okay, if we went into a best of 5 versus these guys, it would be a tough one?
Honestly, I don't even know, who the better teams are participating. I just come and play, and I don't think there's any competition for us. Doesn't matter who we're playing against.
That sounds like the Doxy I know. That was the answer I was expecting. But no, I'm glad to see you guys still playing well, and I'm expecting you guys to make a deep run. Obviously, you're going up against. Don't know. I actually don't know if I know who you're going up against yet, but you will be playing again, obviously in the winner bracket final here in Group C, and then obviously 2 teams will go on to qualify. So wishing you all the luck for that, and I hopefully get to speak to you again throughout these tournaments. So I'll see you.
Don't worry, you will. See you, man.
See you, man. Good to hear from Doxy. I absolutely love Doxy because he was like, okay, I don't know the teams in this tournament, so I'm going to default to the answer of I'm going to smash everyone. And that was like the default answer. Because I bet you if he 100% knew every team in the tournament, he'd probably made a decision about, okay, cool, this one's probably good. But he just went, nope, can't remember who's in the tournament. I'm just going to smash everyone. That made sense. Oh dear. Guys, okay, let's actually now talk about that last game. And actually, I believe the series as a whole, we do have a play, I believe we're looking to bring up, which I know we want to rerun over. It was probably one of the more influential plays, even though it didn't actually work out in favor of Barrage. Gulborg, talk me through this one again.
I mean, as you said yourself, it didn't net them the series, but in this series, in general, it was pretty messy games in between these two teams. I think we have to be honest about that. And I just think, in general, it's the flank that comes in from Bendix that really makes this place. Yes, it's an overstay coming out from Barrage that Monk is essentially able to clean up, but this TP coming in from Bendix, the flash miasma just to ground all of them, it's just a beautiful, nice play and a great way to come back in a game where you initially didn't really have the bestest of chance, even though you had the scaling composition.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Barrage and with Riddle previously, but now Barrage, that team generally tends to play up to its competition. That team generally tends to either downgrade themselves a little bit when they're in a bit more of a messy game, or they'll play up to their sort of the higher end. Like we saw that in the last split when they played versus the likes of Excel, for instance. They upped their game massively, but then when they played against some of the lower end teams, they literally clown fiested it, and it kind of that felt like what that team does sometimes. But hey, we are still expecting big things in this Barrage roster.
Yeah, and even though I think this is a good sign for MNM as well, that this was the roster they brought in. It did look competitive. It wasn't the stomp that you would initially expect from the tournament favorites coming in to just a group play. MNM really showing that with Monk in the AD carry role, with a well-rounded team, even though Kakan maybe was outclassed today, they could still figure out how to play in team fights, and when it finally clicked, it looked really good for MNM. So if this team stick together, if this had been the one back in the last NLC, it might have been an even better experience, but it's a nice hope for MNM as an organization as well.
Sorry,
carry on, Jamal.
No system, my bad. I think for them, they can still hold their heads up high. I think looking towards now in the losers bracket, it's either going to end up being Singularity or Absolved. I think if they end up playing into Singularity, they have a much stronger chance, in my opinion. If they play into Absolved, I feel like they could really be in trouble in the losers bracket. But today, despite the loss, I think it was still a good showing. Albeit, Barrage definitely it felt like they were playing with their food in game 2. The performance, nonetheless, I think that if they can carry that with them throughout the next couple of days, they should still be okay.
Yeah, there were. I specifically, there were glimmers of hope for MNM. There were some big moments from Monk. You had, I think, especially we saw some good mid lane. I think coming out as well. I think the Cassiopeia specifically was incredibly strong, and I think the Azir in the first game was also pretty good. But I think Monk especially did have some big moments. I mean, the Lethality Gym build didn't really work out this game, but on that Kai'Sa game specifically, he absolutely popped off. Like that was a big Monk game. So yeah, MNM looking already better, but Barrage definitely coming in as tournament favorites, and they kind of showed it. Like that game 3, as you said, Jamada playing with their food a little bit, definitely felt that way. Anyway, we have got another series tonight. We are going to be covering, I believe, Singularity versus Absolved. So we are going to be going into that second series to find out who will be playing up against MNM and who will be also playing up against Barrage later on this week. So we'll see you in a moment.